Living every day in your head for free. You can tap away, but I will not hear you scream. You can break the keys, spread your toxicity, your world outside reality. In your room, a little hideaway, but you let it through. Enough to go insane. Living in the dark hasn't treated you well.
What's up, Internet? I'm Aries Van Dam, the shaman of logic, salt and pepper savant, your Gen X genius. And this is my co-host, Ozzy, as always. Wake up, Ozzy. Now he's awake. All right. Back to the main show. So, today's video, let me first of all, please subscribe. I'm trying to get monetized so that I can bring the good word to more people. So please help me do that by subscribing and share this with your friends. I'm not going to ask you to like and do all that bullshit. I don't care about that. If you like it, like it. But today we are looking at two videos. We're looking at Dave Smith versus Natasha Hausdorff, which is a Israeli mouthpiece. She's an attorney that gets destroyed by Dave in this video. And then our second video is going to be a very special video. I'm going to expose a coward who gets on the internet and talks a bunch of shit and then runs from debates. I'm going to show it all to you and you're going to enjoy it. So let's, I think it's really important because that's how propaganda starts. If you can't debate the ideas you just ran out your fucking mouth, you're propaganda, right? Because that's the whole point of being here on the internet. We're going to talk about these things. You don't just get to say them and now we just believe what you said. You may have to back that up at some point. So don't say shit you can't back up. That's why it's an important video. I want y'all to stick around for the second one for sure. But let's get into it. Let me turn the music down and get into it. It's going to be about, the first one's only an hour long. Second one's probably going to be about 30 minutes. So we'll get through it pretty quick. Let's get into it.
Is increasingly centered on whether it's committing war crimes and whether the United States should wield its influence and power to make it stop. And in the court of public opinion, this is much about morality and humanity as it is about legal expertise. Well, my next two guests have been hugely influential advocates for either side. Dave Smith is a libertarian commentator, a comedian, and the host of the Part of the Problem podcast. Natasha Hausdorff is a barrister, international lawyer, and a passionate supporter.
She makes coffee?
Of Israel. Well, let's welcome you both to Uncensored. Dave Smith, I finally lost it really with any attempt to try and defend what Israel was doing, having been a pretty steadfast defender of its right to defend itself from what happened on October the 7th. But when you launch a blockade for 3 months at an already utterly tormented civilian population who are already struggling to eat, and you can see from the scenes that we've seen in the last 48 hours that they are starving people prepared to risk death to get their hands on meager amounts of food. When a government like Israel does that, at the same time as it's simultaneously bombarding those people night after night after night, albeit with the crucial caveat they always put in that they are targeting Hamas solely and that everything around Hamas is collateral damage. But to me, this reached a point where it became clearly disproportionate. And that's a view that clearly the UK has reached, the French have reached, many people in America have reached. You certainly haven't come to that thought process in the last few months. You've been saying that for a long time. The question I have for you, what happens though now? We are where we are. Netanyahu and his government are in charge. Nobody seems to be stopping them. What happens?
No, that is a good question, and I don't know for sure what the answer is. By the way, it's been great to watch your evolution on this topic, Pierce. It's good that you joined us. Later is better than
well,
never.
Just to clarify, I would say this: I don't want to join a side. Right? I was in the Middle East last week by chance. A lot of people come up to me going, "Thank you for switching sides," and I said, "I haven't switched sides. I've always tried to be a fair-minded, impartial journalist doing the job a journalist should do, which is challenging everybody." I think I've had more guests on from both sides, actually, and held more debates than any other show in the world of this kind. So, I do think it's important. I don't want to be seen as taking a side. What I feel now, though, well, what I feel, I think it's an important clarification, but what I think is important now is that this has gone too far. And I can see that very clearly.
Yes. Okay. So I didn't mean to box you into a side, just making the point that you have come to the conclusion that what Israel's doing is indefensible. And I thought it was fascinating and shocking watching you grill the Israeli ambassador, who simply cannot tell you or even ballpark how many kids they have killed in this whole thing. Yeah, look, I mean, I think what Israel, to your broader question of where does this all end up going, there's almost two kind of simultaneous wars in a sense that are going on. There's the actual, control of power, in which case Israel's done phenomenally well over the last couple of years. I mean, Israel still has the support of the most powerful governments in the world, damn near unconditionally, if not purely unconditionally. They've been very successful in terms of taking out Hezbollah leaders. They've been very successful in terms of destroying the Gaza Strip. They've been successful in getting the regime change that they've wanted for many years in Syria. However, simultaneously, while that's going on, global opinion has drastically changed of Israel to a degree that would have been unimaginable just a few years ago. And despite whatever arguments might be made for whether this meets a genocide or doesn't meet a genocide, or whether, as two former Israeli prime ministers who have come out recently and said that war crimes are being committed, wherever you fall on that, the fact is that the debate is now over whether Israel is committing a genocide or not. And that is something that all of us should take a step back and appreciate how profound it is. Especially amongst young people, in the future, I don't believe Israel will ever be viewed the same as it was by my parents' generation. And so what does that mean? As you mentioned earlier, Pierce, that's right. This is a big part of how wars end, is when public support evaporates. We will see where all of this goes, but it is a very dangerous situation. And it is certainly profound to the degree that it has changed the impression of Israel on the global stage.
Yeah. Natasha, I mean, look, if I was an Israeli, a regular Israeli, I would be pretty concerned that people like me have come to the place we've come to in this debate. I've been harangued by pro-Palestinians for a long time for being too supportive of Israel's right to defend itself. Harangued, abused, mocked, threatened, all of the things that come with that in a war. But I just felt I couldn't do anything else to speak out. When you launch a 3-month blockade against a people already suffering in the way that these Palestinians have been suffering, and I'm not talking about Hamas, I'm talking about the innocent civilians in Gaza. It's a population of 2 million, with half of them under 18. More than 20,000 children have been killed, even if the UK ambassador has no idea what that number is, but knows exactly how many Hamas terrorists have been killed, oddly. I would just be concerned, if I was an average Israeli, that people that supported us after the horrors of October the 7th are now beginning to go against, certainly in my case, the Israeli government, not the people of Israel, not Jewish people. They will always have my support. But this Israeli government is out of control. We saw and heard from the words of Smodrich last week, the finance minister, a very clear mission statement to clear out all the Palestinians from Gaza. That is a form of genocide, whatever. You're a lawyer. You'll probably tell me it doesn't meet the exact legal criteria of the word genocide. But if you're clearing out an entire people based on their ethnicity from where they live, that to me, and most people around the world who don't have a horse in this race, is a form of genocide. What do you say to that?
Well, Piers, I'm particularly glad of the opportunity to come on, not before time, and address so much of this misinformation, which seems to be at the core, not just of your shift, but what is a marked shift in the public discussion of this topic. And it is, of course, because of the abuse, the haranguing, the mockery, and the threats and the intimidation that so many people are falling into the easy line.
Well, that's not why I've changed my mind.
Well,
I don't give a damn about who threatens me or how they threaten me or how they mock and abuse me. Listen, I was getting all that long before this war.
He likes it.
So I get it on pretty much any debate I ever had. That's fine. I'm a big boy. So please don't misconstrue anything that I have done in terms of a pivot in the way I view this with anything to do with being threatened into it,
No, you've been
bullied
clear,
into it, or
of
cajoled
course.
into it, because that would be ridiculous.
Piers, you've been clear that this is because of the change in the narrative around this. And I hope I'll have the opportunity, and you'll allow me the opportunity to address some of this false information. And there is a great deal of it. It starts with this notion that Israel imposed an entire blockade on aid, which is being put forward without the context of the fact that in the hostage release deal, which preceded it immediately, there were over 25,000 trucks of aid that were facilitated into the Gaza Strip by Israel. The estimates that I have seen is that that should have been a stockpile of between 5 to 6 months of food and humanitarian assistance. Some estimates are in the region of 8 months. Where did that aid go? That is the question I would expect reasonable people without an agenda here to be asking. Where did that aid go if all of these claims of starvation are to be taken seriously? The reality here is that there is no Israeli-imposed starvation on the Gaza Strip, that there has been facilitated over the course of
But
this
that
war.
is simply not true. I'm sorry.
Well-
No, hang on. If you've ever felt
What
like
the
you're
fuck?
being watched online, it's perverts.
All the
So
time.
4 extra months.
And
I can challenge you.
And I just explained that that blockade, which was imposed in order to prevent Hamas continuing to fuel its war machine by selling additional aid that it was diverting, and we'll come on to the way that diversion is going to be prevented in the future, I hope. But the fact of the matter is that this blockade was instituted in the context of there being 5 to 6 months, maybe even 8 months of aid that was facilitated into the Gaza Strip. And throughout, if you'll allow me to finish this point, throughout the war, the volume of aid that Israel has facilitated into Gaza, and this is not being reported by the international media, but it is available, publicly available information published by COGAT, over 1,700,000 tons of aid which has been facilitated into the Gaza Strip, which is more than required for the civilian population. The study that was conducted.
Why are they so hungry then?
The study that was
Hang
conducted.
on, why are they so hungry?
May I finish this point and I'll
Yeah,
come
but
on to answer
why
the
are
question.
they so hungry?
Well, there are...
Why are they stampeding
Piers.
over each other,
We're not
risking
going to-
death to get at scraps of food? I don't understand. If they're all so well nourished and Israel's behaved so
Pierce isn't understanding. Israel said they gave them shit, so you got to pretend like it's true. That's just the way things go. You just say I did some shit, and there you go. Everybody will believe it.
impeccably properly in terms of supplying enough food for months on end, why do they all look like they're starving to death and are prepared to risk actually dying to get at food?
What you are basing your assessment on, I'm afraid,
It's what I'm seeing with my own eyes.
which is Hamas propaganda, which you must accept as the
No,
only
it's
thing-
actually footage I'm watching. News.
Yes, those Gazans sure are known for propaganda, aren't they? they bought every channel on our news medias, right? They're the owners. They control propaganda, not your people.
Footage of thousands of people fighting with each other to get at food, some of whom ended up dying, some of whom ended up being shot. The IDF says it wasn't them and it was Hamas. We don't know who did it because, as you know, the Israeli government has banned all international journalists from being anywhere near this to verify what is actually happening.
Here's what
Well, Pierce, that's so that they can say they gave them aid and you have to believe it because you can't prove they didn't. It's a trick.
Morgan, you're not allowing me to
Sir.
answer a single question.
I
And the fact-
am,
no,
and
the-
then
the fact-
when you say something
the
that
fact
I
of
don't
the
agree
matter is-
with, I'm challenging
I'm
you.
sure I'm going to say a lot that you don't agree with because unfortunately your assessment is being based on misinformation, like these false reports we've had today of Israel shooting 31 Palestinians attempting to get to food. That was run, and Ambassador Mike Huckabee has criticised this resoundingly in a statement just now. That was run in the context of the Associated Press, CNN, many media outlets. And it was entirely false because it is, as has been the case
Well,
previously,
Israel,
Hamas-
hang on.
Because she says so. What evidence did she just supply you? She just said it's false. There you go. Move on.
The Israeli
Hamas
government says
that
it was
is-
entirely false. What we have had,
have the
what we had.
footage.
Sorry, just to
It's
correct
not just
you.
the Israeli
Sorry
government.
to jump in again.
No, it's also the Gaza Humanitarian
Israel has done
Foundation.
one of its own reports because journalists aren't allowed to verify this independently. So Israel investigates itself and has decided it did nothing
I'm not
wrong.
referring to
what we
Israel's
do,
investigation.
hang on. What we do know is that a number
Almost as dumb as letting guys who are on the Epstein list decide how much of the Epstein list we get to see, isn't it?
of doctors and hospital spokesmen and charity spokesmen have all said that there were many people killed and many more people wounded, taken to hospitals, and they saw the bodies and they saw the wounded. So somebody was killing and wounding
Well, Hamas.
a lot of
We have the
Palestinians.
drone- we have the
you
drone
say
footage.
you say it was Hamas. Hamas say it was the IDF. We, the international media, cannot verify this because Israel doesn't allow us in to do our job.
Let's think about that for a second. Is that Hamas keeping the media out from reporting on what they're doing? Or could that be Israel keeping people out from reporting on what they're doing? Just logic there.
media peers will know this. It is
I also know that
consistent.
historically, Israel has accepted that the health authorities' numbers, historically, before October the 7th, that they have been broadly accurate. That is the historical
You
position.
must also know that the assessments of Hamas casualty figures by experts and statisticians have found them to be preposterously inaccurate, fabricated.
Well, let me ask you a
In fact,
question.
may I
Let me ask you what I asked you.
No, you're not
Well, hang
allowing
on.
me to finish a single
Well, I can
answer.
actually conduct this interview any way I like.
Well, then the viewers aren't going to get any
Well,
benefit of
the viewers can make their own mind up
Yeah,
about
we'll do
what they're
without.
hearing and seeing. When I interviewed the UK ambassador to the UK,
Yes.
she was able to tell me definitively that 30,000 Hamas terrorists had been killed.
I think it
But
was an
she-
estimate.
but she
Let's
had-
be clear.
But she had absolutely no idea, estimate or otherwise,
Yes.
how many children had been killed in the process. Do you know?
There's a very simple logical explanation for that,
Let's hear
which
it.
is Israel is targeting Hamas and
Do
Palestinians.
you know how many
Islamic
children
Jihad
Israel's killed in the
terrorists.
process?
There is a very simple explanation for the reason that we do not know. Because
You only
Hamas
count
casualty-
you only
no.
count the terrorists
Would
who
you
killed,
like
not the
to
children.
hear the explanation?
Well, I just ask you, just to be clear, are you saying that the IDF only counts the bodies of terrorists it kills, not innocent children?
Well, the IDF has not been, and this is a shift now, as you will have heard from Jonathan Conricus, has not been in control of any significant part of Gaza to be able to conduct that analysis.
So how does
The
it know how
only
many
numbers-
terrorists it's killing?
Because it is striking them with clear intelligence and targeting those strikes deliberately.
So it counts
at
the bodies of the...
identified-
So we just tell you what we think we killed, and y'all got to go off of it like it's a fact. You don't know how many children, but you know how many terrorists. So you're just ignoring some bodies, or you're making shit up. Which one? Occam's razor. Which one makes more sense?
terrorists, but not the children
No,
it kills in the process.
It counts. I'm sorry, this is perfectly logical. This
It's actually not
counts-
logical at all.
It counts-
To anyone watching this, they're thinking, what on earth are these Israelis saying? First the ambassador, now you. What you're saying is that you only count the terrorists that are killed. You don't count the children that are killed in the process of killing the terrorists.
Perhaps
to
I
which
can
it begs the
provide you-
question,
No, I can provide you
why?
with some additional analysis.
Why?
If you'll allow me to answer the question, I'll provide you with some additional analysis, which is in relation to the casualty ratios that have been projected.
How do you know
throughout
the
this war.
ratios?
I'll explain. The casualty
Pierce is being a terrible moderator, but I'm going to allow it because I like it.
ratio throughout the first period of the war, phase one, was generally put at between 1 to 1 and 1.5
How do you
to
know?
1. I'll explain. Since then, in phase two, because of a very different type of fighting that we're now seeing, there are some estimates that it may have gone up to 2 to 1.
How do you know?
Very simply, that Israel has been able to establish...
How do you know if you're not counting?
May I answer the question?
Look, you're not counting the civilians you're killing, so how do you know the ratio?
Well, if you're not going to allow me to
You talk
answer the
about
question, I
logic.
don't
Let me
see
go to, I want to bring
No,
Dave.
no,
I don't know.
You've just asked me the
let me
I've
get
let
in
you
here
speak
a
for a
little
long
bit.
time. Dave
You
is...
haven't, Piers.
Well, I have, and I'll let you speak again. We've got plenty of time here.
I'm sorry, but
I'm sorry.
Pierce, I really want to hear her because I want to know how they're doing the voodoo to figure these numbers out. It's got to be amazing.
Was
But it's
entirely
my show.
uninterrupted.
I'm going to go to
Yes.
Dave. Dave, I'm told I'm lacking logic here. Is there anything logical about what we're hearing about how they apparently know the exact ratio of terrorists they're killing to civilians, but they don't know how many civilians they're killing? How do you know the ratio?
Pierce, it's just too ridiculous. And as you know, Pierce, and look, I know that you've been, I think, very...
It's like they did the math problem. They didn't know the denominator, so they just ignored it and just made up some numbers. That's exactly what they did.
As you said before, I don't want to put you on either side of this debate, because I think actually people who are hardcore on either side of this debate probably see you as someone on the other side.
Yeah, they
And
all hate
because
me. The extremists all hate me.
right.
That's fine.
No,
Yeah.
not all. I didn't mean to say they all
No,
hate
but
you. A lot of us like
they
you.
actually
Pierce.
do. They actually do. The ones who are to the
look, I think-
extremities on both sides, they all hate me. So that's fine. Tax day has passed, but for millions of Americans,
This is why I don't
that's where
do
the
ads.
trouble begins. The IRS.com
beginning that the goal is just to get the hostages back and to defeat Hamas, while their finance minister is openly talking about how the goal is to cleanse the entire strip.
He's not even hiding it. He says it.
Yes.
He literally says it in front of the world.
Yes. And we see them now putting this into plans into action to do this. So how are we to judge this? They'll sit here and say that they've taken painstaking efforts to make sure that they limit the number of civilians that are killed, while also saying they have no idea how many civilians are being killed, and they don't count the number because that's not who they're targeting. You'll sit here and say, we're only talking.
But Dave, on Fox News, they don't ask questions like that. They just accept everything as fact. That's how we get the state we're in now, because you just believe propaganda. That's how we got here. We've got to reverse that.
Targeting Hamas, or that we're only intentionally targeting Hamas. And at the same time, think about the argument they're even making, as Smotrich is out bragging about how not one grain of wheat will get into Gaza for this 3-month period that you're referring to. But they'll say, hey, look, they have stockpiles of aid that had gone in there previously. It's like, okay, Piers, so then logically, can't we deduce you're not starving Hamas? They've got plenty of food. Then who is the additional blockade supposed to impact? It's the civilian population. And so, listen, I'm sorry, this is just anybody with just common sense and a basic understanding of logic could tell you that none of these defenses make any sense. And instead, I think it's reasonable for us to say that we're going to judge the Israeli government, and I like that you were precise about that. We're talking about the government of a foreign country, not people who believe in Judaism across the world, and not even necessarily the people of that country. But when I'm judging the Israeli government, I'm sorry, I'm going to judge them based off what their actions are, and I'm going to judge them based off what their motives are when they admit the truth.
Yeah.
And so you can sit here and say, oh, we're doing everything we can to prevent the children who are the number of children dying, and then brag about the ratio. But at the same time, tell me you don't even know the number of children who are dying. The bottom line here, and this is why global opinion is turning against Israel, is the level of human suffering that is being inflicted by Israel on the people of Gaza is evil. It is pure freaking evil, and it doesn't need to be done this way. And if you think you can get away with this with a decentralized media and with smartphones and with 4K high def images and with the ability through social media today for people to communicate in a non-controlled environment, good freaking luck, man. This is going to end up so bad for everyone. It's already ended up so bad for the poor people of Gaza. But I just can't. I'm truly stunned, Piers, and I'm sure you are too. I am stunned by the lack of rational self-preservation on the part of the Israelis. Like, read the room here. You are turning the entire world against you. And I do not understand why they would choose to do this.
Yeah, I mean, look, Natasha, I was editor of the Daily Mirror 20 years ago when we launched a long campaign to stop this country, the UK, going to war in Iraq, which I thought was an illegal invasion of a sovereign country. And it may be very unpopular with the then Labour government, led by Tony Blair, because we were the Labour-supporting newspaper. My point being, my argument then was not with the people of the United Kingdom. My argument was with the government of the United Kingdom making a decision which I felt was illegal and wrong, probably constituting war crimes. And it turned out to be a complete unmitigated disaster that led to 20 more years of mayhem in the Middle East, including the rise of ISIS and all the hell that they brought with them. So this, just to be clear again, I do not have an argument with Jewish people or with Israelis. I totally understand why after October the 7th, so many people in Israel felt so vulnerable, felt so angry, felt so distressed, so heartbroken by the devastating loss. 250 odd people kidnapped and taken hostage, including babies and Holocaust survivors. Over 1,200 people murdered, 7,000 wounded, by 3,000 terrorists breaking over a border to attack anyone they got their hands on. I don't need reminding of what happened that day. That is why I defended Israel's right to defend itself so staunchly. But I cannot defend what is happening now. What is happening now is militarily inexplicable to most people I've spoken to in the military. I have a lot in my family. Nobody understands what Israel's goal is here, other than flattening Gaza and kicking off. Hang on. As Smotrich has said, it is to take over and clear out Gaza of all the Palestinians. that is genocide, isn't it? Unless, I mean, you're a lawyer.
No.
To be more accurate, that's ethnic cleansing, which is also, I think that's a war crime too.
You tell me.
Israel's war aims have been clear from the outset, which is the destruction of Hamas.
They haven't
and
done
the
that.
return of the hostages. Well, because the war's not over yet.
You haven't
And
done either of those things.
Will you
All
allow-
you're doing is killing more and more
Will you allow me
civilians,
to get into
and you've been
words?
starving them.
Well, but who's you? Forgive me. I'm here as a lawyer.
The Israeli
as-
government, and you're
right.
here to defend it, right?
No, I'm here to defend the rule of law and
Okay.
the weaponization of international law,
Okay, your clients are murdering babies. Is that better?
which has been consistent throughout this process. The propaganda that we're discussing right now, which is clearly what has shifted your position and perspective on this,
What do you mean
is
by
deeply
propaganda?
dangerous. Calling Israel a committer of genocide or saying that it is starving
Well,
children
actually, the people alleging that Israel's committing war crimes are two former Israeli prime
who
ministers.
have their own political agendas here. Let's
Well,
be
of
clear.
course, how
Because the
convenient.
evidence
How
shows-
convenient. The two
Like
former
Ehud
prime
Olmert.
ministers
allow
of the
me-
country
Yes.
have said that you are committing, as a government, not you, but the government is committing war crimes, and you dismiss it as just a bit of internal politics.
Well, no, it's a very serious matter that the misinformation that I would like to be able to come on to address is now also being propagated by two very sore individuals. Prime Minister Olmert, because he also served a prison sentence, and has had his entire proposed peace framework, that of essentially creating a Palestinian state in East Jerusalem and the West Bank, turned upside down by the realization, and he hasn't had, unfortunately, the temerity after the 7th of October to recognize the risk that he would have put Israel to in light of the Hamas takeover.
And when you see, as we
of the
saw,
Gaza
and when you
Strip.
see, Natasha,
I was answering the previous question.
okay,
Piers,
but
and
let me-
this-
It's called filibustering. You're just rattling off a bunch of words. You can't excuse away you're murdering children.
just on the
this isn't
point,
productive.
on the point of legality, actually, it's very productive. On the point of legality, only last week the Israeli government announced new settlements, 22 settlements.
Well, no, can we pause?
Well, hang on,
first?
hang on.
Yes.
On the West Bank, 22 settlements,
Yes.
which the international community views as illegal. They announced 22 new settlements. As a lawyer,
Mm-hmm.
given your adherence to the point of law, presumably you would condemn that.
Well, this is exactly why we need to be clear about how international law applies. And
I saw an interview with an IDF soldier where he was bragging about killing children because he's told that that's good when you kill the children. So, yeah, you can't pretend like you're good when you're bragging about killing children.
and why the notion of these so-called illegal settlements is a misnomer.
don't think they are?
It's not a legal term, it's a political term, and it is part and parcel of a misapplication of international law to the status of the territory. These blood libels, occupation, ethnic cleansing,
Wow, so you
colonialism,
think the settlements are not
apartheid,
illegal?
and genocide are all part and parcel of the propaganda, which I would like to be able to come on to, because
Right, but blood libel's not propaganda, right? You can say all those things we say are just negative. They're propaganda. But whenever we say something that's actually true, like when they were eating children at Epstein Island, well, that's blood libel. It's not allowed to say that because that's a made-up term we just invented, so you can't criticize us.
all of the evidence goes in completely the opposite direction in terms of Israel's compliance with the laws of armed conflict and its in the amount of steps that Israel takes. Unprecedented in the history of armed conflict, and military
Actually,
commanders
that's just
will
a load
tell
of
you
bullshit. I'm sorry, it just is.
which other army
It just
sends
is. Which
warnings
other
as to-
war in recent times have you had half the population is under 18 and you killed 20,000 kids in
Those figures
20
are
months?
Hamas figures that you are
Well, give me
constantly
give me an example.
You can't have real figures because we're not letting anyone in to check. So we've got to go off Hamas's figures until you open it up and let us go do some investigating. Stupid bitch.
Of where this morality has been played out elsewhere.
I was explaining earlier that the Hamas figures are inflated, that there are internal
How
inconsistencies.
convenient for you. You don't know what the figures are, so how do you know?
That because there have been independent
How
studies.
do you know
by
how many figures are
statisticians.
inflated or otherwise? You don't know how many have been
Because
killed.
we know Hamas lies. It is an internationally
No,
described
okay.
terrorist
Well,
organisation.
some might
And
think
the
you're
fact-
lying
the
because
fact-
you say on one hand, I don't
And Israel's known for being honest, aren't they? They've always been so honest.
know how many children have been killed, but on the other hand, and that's a blood libel if you say we've killed any of them, but on the other hand...
That's not
on
what
the-
I said, no.
Yeah, but on the other hand, you know all about the ratios and you know how humane
Would you like
the
to
Israeli
understand
forces
why?
are being, but you don't
Because-
know how many they're killing.
Because even on Hamas figures, which we know to be false, which do not make distinctions
You
between
don't know
civilian
that.
Yeah. How do you know? You just keep saying it. You keep asserting and saying it as if it's a fact. Assertions are not facts until you give us evidence.
They're
and
fools.
we do, because there
How
have
do you
been-
know they're fools? You
because-
don't know how many have been killed.
Because Hamas has even itself revised those figures down and acknowledged that they are false.
Why would you revise them if you weren't trying to be honest? Like, I would just leave it out there if I was trying to lie. Just leave the lie there. Why would you revise them if you're not trying to be honest?
And the UN is still touting.
So how many
false
children has
figures on
Israel
that.
killed?
If we go back to the
Can
question,
you answer my question?
If you go back to the ratio,
Do you know my?
question,
Do you know,
but I can tell you the ratio, even on the basis of Hamas figures.
You can tell me the ratio without. But how do you know if you don't know how many have
I can tell you
died?
the ratio even on the basis of the false Hamas
So you have
figures.
no idea how many have been killed, but you can tell me the ratio.
I can tell you the ratio.
You're a smart lawyer. Do you not understand how ridiculous that
Are you
sounds?
listening?
She's so smart, she doesn't understand how math works. You can't know the ratio because the ratio is just a division problem. And if you don't know the numerator or the denominator, you can't do a division problem. Unless you're in Israel.
If we were in a courtroom now, you would be demolished by a fellow lawyer. They would say, what are you talking about?
Piers, this is not how courtroom etiquette is conducted, I'm afraid. I would be permitted
Actually, some
to
of my
finish-
favourite lawyers conduct them exactly like this.
I would be permitted to finish a sentence. The reason we can say that the ratio before the ceasefire was 1-to-1 or 1.15-to-1 is on the basis even of Hamas figures.
Well, 1-to-1 or 5-to-1? Which one was it?
1-to-1 to 1.5-to-1. At different points in that period, those were the two separate estimates.
Studies show that strength training burns more fat than content. Jacked up.
How much money do you
lie
need?
to all of these accusations that we have been hearing. And the reason, let me finish this sentence, if you will. The reason that it is so terrible, that it is so dangerous that these lies are being spread about Israel, that even you and other respected...
I want you to notice the lies are what's dangerous, not the country killing the children. That's not dangerous. It's the lies about that.
International journalists have begun to propagate them, is that it is having a direct
calling me a liar?
impact. No, that you have been taken in by them.
Really?
Is because it is having a direct impact on the safety of Jews around the world. We've seen the impact
Don't believe your eyes. Believe Israel and Fox News.
of 14,000 babies in 48 hours when 2 Israeli staffers were murdered, executed on the streets of DC. Only yesterday we saw a fire attack
What was the link?
against-
What was the link there? Are you saying
the
that
fact
the
that
person?
2 days after
are you
Tom
saying the person
Fletcher-
that perpetrated that appalling murder was actually even aware of the story you're talking about? You're
Well,
drawing a direct link.
The Chicagan that committed that murder shouted "Free Palestine," and this is for Gaza.
You mentioned something about 48,000
Two
babies.
days after that full story went around the world.
It was a full story because the idiot that came out with it should have known better. I didn't promote that in any way at all, other than to say.
But you
he
are
was an
promoting
idiot.
false allegations of starvation and targeting
No,
civilians.
I'm promoting the fact that Israel's government launched a 3-month blockade, which has led
without
to
the context
people
of
starving.
25,000 tons of
All right.
trucks of
Let me
aid
bring
having
David.
been provided before that.
Dave.
Facts without
all
context are misleading.
All right, Dave, we're a bunch of deluded clowns who are being misled. Israel's government is telling the whole truth here. Everyone else is lying or being taken in by lies.
Like always.
Yeah, it's just like, look, the
And we're
logical
putting
contradictions here.
Jews in danger by promoting these
well,
lies.
You know,
You're a
well,
Jewish guy.
maybe, yes, I am, and maybe I'll respond to that. Well, first of all, I'll just say that even the idea, like as you hear these arguments, Piers, where they'll say like, well, we know these numbers that the Gaza Health Ministry puts out are lies because we know Hamas lies, and look, the proof of that is that they revised their numbers down at one point. But doesn't that just kind of lead to the question, Piers? Then, like, why would they revise their numbers down
why
if
wouldn't
they're
they
just
double
lying? Why? Yeah, right. Why wouldn't they just stick with the original numbers that they had?
Logical, to quote the buzzword of the debate.
It's what always happens with the pro-Israel people is like they use what is a point on my side as a point on their side.
And by the way,
Like,
I wouldn't trust Hamas as far as I could bloody throw them, right? They're a bunch of despicable death cult murderers, right? That's to be crystal clear. I wouldn't trust them as far as I could throw them. And yet historically, their figures through this health authority in this conflict going back decades have turned out to be reasonably accurate.
More accurate than our best allies claims. Hasn't that been the fact that we can all see? Even the Hamas numbers are more truthful than Israel's.
know that
Correct.
because
Piers,
Israel
and you know-
has accepted them over the years.
And Piers, as you know, because I've been coming on your show for a long time now, you know, I've always said the same thing too. I also don't really trust the Gaza Health Ministry. I'm just making the point that them revising the numbers down would be a point of evidence that they're being honest, not a point of evidence that you can't trust them. But look, I will just say this, okay? And Piers, again, because I've been coming on your show, I've done a lot of these debates, you know, over the last year and a half or so. I would never, like, if you remember, there was this example of the guy in Florida who is being charged with attempted murder right now because he shot 2 people who he thought were Palestinians. Turned out they weren't. He was wrong. But I would never use that as an example in one of these debates and say, aha, pro-Israel person, you're responsible for that.
Right.
I'm a free market libertarian, free market capitalist guy. There was a Bernie Sanders fan who shot up a congressional baseball game several years back. I would never use that in an argument and say, you're responsible for that, because it's the cheapest, lamest form of argument. You are not responsible if you're telling the truth for as you see it, for some crazy person committing a horrific act of violence. By the way, we're talking about ongoing innocent people being killed for over 20 months at this point now. So like, that's what the whole conversation is about. But the idea that any of us are responsible. Look, here's the bottom line, Pierce. I understand Natasha wants to sit here and say, the reason you've changed your mind is because you've fallen for the propaganda. You've fallen for the lies. The reason why everyone is so outraged is because they're falling for these propaganda. The truth is that the reason why Pierce and so many people around the world are turning on what the Israeli government is doing is because it's just so freaking horrible. Because we're seeing images every day of children suffering through an ungodly fate. We all sit there and think, my God, if those were our kids. It's a pure reaction to witnessing evil. And you got to sit here and spin the fact that this is all propaganda or it's all lies. I mean, look, I admire you being a lawyer and trying to defend your client. I guess that's what lawyers got to do, no matter how guilty your client is. Pierce, if I'm ever charged with murder, get this lady to represent me. So that's who I want on my team. But the bottom line is that
she is an experienced liar. She's really good at that. She's a woman.
2 former Israeli prime ministers are not falling for propaganda.
And you know what,
it's
Dave?
just that
You know
at
what?
this point,
One of them,
they can't deny it.
Right, and one of them, Ehud Olmert, he said to me that he thinks Netanyahu, A, should have resigned by now, but B, will be in The Hague one day being held accountable for these war crimes. And I mean, I guess my question for you, Natasha, you're a lawyer. Would you be prepared to defend him if Netanyahu appeared at The Hague?
We're talking about the International Criminal Court.
Would you be prepared to defend him?
No, well, let me be clear about the context, because this is important. We're talking about the International Criminal Court, which has no jurisdiction in this matter because Israel is not a party to the ICC and Palestine is not a state. It clearly made significant errors on prior determinations of jurisdiction on the basis of an accession document, supposedly by the Palestinian Authority, which was never circulated. That was one of the primary planks of its decision in 2021, which has fallen away. It is proceeded on this basis in contravention of its own rules, that of complementarity, and on an entirely false basis. So my organisation, UK Lawyers for Israel, has put out a review of Karim Khan's application for warrants, which demonstrated that every phrase of every sentence of that document was false. In that context, we're not seeing an international criminal court anymore. We're seeing a political body which is seeking to rehabilitate itself by going after the leaders of the world's Jewish state because of its abysmal
Is there anyone who
reputation.
could...
So her argument is that they didn't sign some treaty or whatever, so they can't be investigated for war crimes. They can just commit them at will and no one can investigate them. That's her literal argument here. I want you to tell me, do you think one country out of all the countries in the world should be exempt from war crimes because their lawyers told them not to sign a piece of paper? Fuck no, you go to prison.
Criticizes the Israeli government that you don't think is doing so for political reasons or because they're being deluded by
Oh my
lies?
goodness, yes.
In other words, is anybody actually acting, do you think, with any integrity
Well, within
when they
Israel.
criticize the Israeli government?
Within
Because you
Israel.
make it sound like everyone's either stupid, deluded, or politically motivated.
Within Israel, there is the most vibrant political debate and criticism that you will see anywhere. What I'm calling out are the lies and the falsehoods and the blood libels that are being propagated. And those
I was
that
told
are
by the
interested-
ambassador to
Projection, projection, projection.
the UK, it was a blood libel for me to suggest that Israel had killed children in this
No,
war.
I don't believe that was the case. I
There
think it
was.
was to do with targeting children.
No.
And there is a difference.
Right.
Because we are hearing that Israel is targeting children, and that couldn't be further from
Well,
the fact,
last week,
because
9 out of 10 children in one home
Well,
where 2 doctors
you know-
reside were killed in an airstrike.
Well,
Was that? What
isn't
was
it
that?
remarkable?
Well, what was that?
That has been based.
Pierce, they're not going to count them anyway. We know how they do it. Those are terrorists now. The little one, that's a little midget terrorist.
Only on the basis of hearsay.
You don't
and
believe that
secondhand
story?
Information. I want these
Whoa,
stories.
wait a minute. You don't believe
Yes.
that those children were killed?
I have seen conflicting accounts, and I want that story to be properly investigated
Wow.
before the international media
Wow.
runs with it. I have
You think
questions.
those 2 parents, one of whom I think operated on one of the children.
I have a question.
You think that those two doctors, the parents, they just made it up?
Why are
that
those
9 of
children
their
there?
10 children had been blown to pieces
Yes.
by an Israeli airstrike?
If this is true,
You don't believe it?
well, why on earth?
That's where Trump learned to deny. Whenever you blow up some innocent people, yeah, it was some other Tomahawks that blew up that all-girl school. Wasn't us.
Was artificially generated imagery used to promote this story when it first
I
happened.
got to say,
We've seen
Natasha,
time
I
and
think
time
what you've
again-
just said about that
Piers
family
Morgan, we've seen
is despicable.
We've seen time
I'm
and time
sorry,
again.
Yeah,
it's
is that a
despicable.
What is
blood libel?
truly
Somebody, you talk
despicable-
about blood libel, like Dave said. You talk about blood libel. You talk about lies.
All I said,
you talk about
James,
promoting
was that there were
propaganda.
conflicting
And here you
accounts.
sit here as a lawyer and you say that
Who represents the entirety of our media, right? The owners of all of our media are Zionists. So she kind of represents that interest. And she's talking about the propaganda that these poor Gazans are doing. Like, oh, do they own YouTube? Do they own TikTok? Do they own all these media facilities so they can just get the propaganda to us? No, no.
you do not believe those 9 children were
I
killed.
didn't say that. You're putting
You
words
did?
in my mouth.
Do you believe it or not?
I said that there were conflicting
Do you
accounts
believe it?
and it needs to be
Do
investigated.
you believe it?
I thought you would be the
The parents
first
said
person
9 of their
that
10
wants-
children were killed.
They
Do you
haven't-
believe them
they
or not?
haven't- they
Or did
haven't
those
said
two
that directly.
doctors make it up?
They didn't tell
haven't
her.
said that directly as far as I have seen. I have seen second-hand accounts and hearsay. But it's important to ask, why are these civilians still there? Why is it that
Actually, no, it's important to ask whether you believe.
It's their fault for living in their own fucking home. Why don't they just get the fuck out? Don't they know that some Israeli people would like to live in that apartment? Get the fuck out. That's her argument, literally.
Believe that family have lost 9 of their 10 children.
I want
Actually.
to know why the international
You don't, do you?
community...
You don't. And this goes to the point that I would say about Israel
Why are
generally
these
now, in this
Palestinian
war now.
civilians
Israel says they don't believe anything.
Coming out of Hamas,
every
indeed.
story that comes out
Yep.
about the deaths of civilians in Gaza,
Because there is a
someone
track
will
record
pop
of
up
lies.
representing the Israeli government saying, it's propaganda. It's not true. I've heard it's not right. I've heard it didn't happen. And the reason you can get away with it, frankly, is because you won't allow, the Israeli government won't allow, I don't want to keep putting you in the government, but you defend them. The Israeli government refuses to allow international journalists.
No, that's not why they do it. The reason they can do it is because they own all of our fucking media. And you're not allowed to say this in very many places anymore. Go try and say that on TikTok. Say goodbye to your channel.
to get in there and do their job and verify whether any of these things are actually
So I
happening
have been
when
there.
you say they didn't happen.
I can help you with why. I've been there in September and seen a great deal of the Hamas terror infrastructure with my own eyes, including the fact that when we were in Rafah, every second building was being used
you see any dead
by
children?
Hamas. No, and this is the
Wow.
important factor.
Why do you think that?
Our movements...
Is that because there aren't any,
No.
or because you were being given a sanitized little tour,
No, we were
which
being-
didn't involve seeing the bodies of dead children?
We were very restricted because of the nature of the battlefield in
What
in
right does the
Gaza.
IDF have to restrict journalists doing their job? In every
well,
other
on the
war I've
basis-
ever been involved in, including sending my Daily Mirror journalists to cover the Iraq war in Baghdad, where they rang me at midnight to ask if they should leave or stay in a hotel, the Baghdad Hilton, I think it was called, before shock and awe arrived. So huge responsibility on my shoulders then about the lives of my journalists, but they were prepared to risk them to report the truth to the wider world. Israel has decided no journalists from outside can go in
For 3 reasons.
and make that assessment.
Since then, they tried to bomb quite a few of them, too. There's a video of them trying to bomb a Russia Today journalist. They are not playing games. They will murder medics. They will murder journalists. They don't give a fuck because they think they don't have to answer for any of this because they didn't sign a piece of paper. So you can't put me in jail.
Themselves.
Yes.
What right does Israel have to do that?
For 3 reasons. Will you allow me to finish?
Well, there are no reasons.
Well, you've
It's
just
none of
asked
your
me-
business
you
whether
just-
the journalists view their
You
safety as being at
haven't-
risk.
I'm sorry, you haven't heard the reasons yet. The first, of course, is the safety of the
Don't have
journalists,
to.
and I appreciate you don't accept that. The second,
I think it's a load of
the
nonsense.
second is the
The
safety.
idea you're doing is that some quaint concern for the safety of journalists is bullshit.
That was reason number one.
Utter
Reason number
bullshit.
reason number two is the
These better
ability.
get better.
Is the ability of IDF soldiers to be able to conduct this war against Hamas without.
Without the
Without prying eyes. We need to be able to conduct this where you can't see all the people we're killing, and then you just have to listen to what we tell you when we're done. That's the fucking logic here. Does that make sense to any of y'all?
Journalists getting in the way.
No, without
They've actually, by the way, they've killed more journalists in Palestinian journalists than in any war
Hamas
in
members
modern
wearing
history.
press vests are not journalists. And reason number 3.
So none of them are journalists.
And reason
That was a Hamas member wearing a Russia Today fucking vest.
number 3.
So just to be clear, none of the Palestinian journalists who've been killed are actually
I
journalists.
said Hamas members.
Oh, they're all Hamas
Palestinian
members?
Islam, those that are. And those
Every
that belong
single
to,
dead
that's not what I
Palestinian
said.
journalist
I
is a
don't-
member of Hamas.
Now you're starting to see why the ratio is so good. If everybody's one, yeah, then our ratio's real low.
Is that your position?
No, listen, I appreciate Piers. This
That is
your
also
style.
bullshit.
But
No, I'm not going to let you bullshit.
misrepresenting every
So that's
word.
2 out of 2. What's the third reason?
Our mutual friend Douglas Murray was embedded
He's no friend to anyone in America.
with the IDF in Lebanon.
You said the words yourself. I love Douglas, but he was embedded with the IDF.
Right.
He's unbelievably
But in
pro-Israel.
let me finish.
So of course
Will
he
you
was
allow
going
me
to
to
write
finish?
what
No.
he witnessed while embedded with the IDF.
No, let me finish what his experience
But he has been there, however you say it.
experiences there were. The difference
I
is
read
that in
it.
Lebanon,
You have to tell me.
there is something I think that you won't have heard. The IDF are able to allow journalists into Lebanon. He wasn't the only one. There were many other
There
international
have been a
journalists with him.
tiny... No.
Those other
bullshit.
international journalists with him
Bullshit.
were very clear.
There
that
have
they-
been a tiny
beg your
handful of journalists led in by the IDF in
I
tightly
appreciate-
controlled environments
And you
to
know-
witness what the IDF were prepared to let them
And
see.
you know what
And
those
actually, what it
journalists
needs this
said?
war to stop the bullshit, which is out of control, by the way, in this last 3 minutes, is to let international journalists go in and do their jobs. And they will worry with their networks or organizations about their safety, but they should be allowed to do their jobs. And there's only one reason why the Israeli government doesn't want international journalists crawling all over Gaza. It's because they do not want them reporting
Piers,
what they will find.
reason number
which, by the
3.
way, will include the bodies of thousands of children.
If I'd have watched this video before I fucking decided to react to it, I would have made the thumbnail Pierce Morgan versus her. He's taking over here. I've never seen Pierce this fired up. Like, you know.
Who you on the Israeli side are not counting as you count the terrorists you kill, but who journalists would.
Reason number 3 is that those journalists that were in Lebanon said that they had to be very careful about what they reported because of what Hezbollah would do to their colleagues in Beirut. The fact that
Israel is very concerned about other people. That's why they're killing all those children.
international journalists have sunk to this level that they would allow their reportage to be controlled by terrorist organizations, Iranian proxies, Hamas and Hezbollah included, is despicable. That is the real issue here that has driven
Actually,
the
it's not. The
international...
real
No, that's the issue. She's right. That's the issue. It's not dead children. It's not killing medics. It's not, you know, just being warlords who are trying to take over the world so they can have a bigger country so they won't be a New Jersey-sized country anymore. So from her perspective, she's being truthful, but not to anybody with common sense or reason or, you know, a soul.
issue
Of course
is,
it is.
This
is terrorist organizations'
the real-
propaganda.
actually,
that
it's
you
not.
have
Let me
eaten
bring
up.
David. Let me
and
bring
the fact
David.
that you will not allow me to answer a single question.
You know what?
here
You've made
will
all
be
your
perfectly
points, and they
evident to your
all, I'm
viewers.
afraid,
I
Natasha,
haven't. I certainly
turned out
haven't
to be
made all my
bullshit.
points.
So let me bring in Dave. Dave, look, I don't
Thank
like
you.
to keep saying the word bullshit, but when you hear a lot of bullshit, you have to call it for what it is, bullshit. And the truth is, particularly on the journalist front, there is a very simple way that all this fog of war confusion could be resolved, and that is to let the journalists in. And there's a very simple reason why they're not. They don't want the journalists to report to the war.
This video is from June 3rd, 2025. So it is over a year old.
World what is actually going on.
Still no
Otherwise, they'd let
journalists.
them in.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I understand, Natasha, that you're upset that Pierce isn't letting you finish your thought, but the idea that the number one reason you gave is that what Israel just values the sanctity of life so much that they're so worried about these journalists, it's just so ridiculous.
Actually,
It doesn't
it's
pass the
offensive,
basic smell
honestly, it
test.
is.
It's offensive to think that level, you talk about propaganda being spread. That is just pure
Who's going to be
propaganda.
blamed
It is
for these
obvious.
journalist
It is obviously the reason
Hang on,
Israel
who's going to
doesn't
be
let-
blamed? Sorry, Natasha just said, who will be blamed for the journalist deaths? A recognition that yet more journalists would be killed, because I think
Well,
it's well over 100
That's why Israel
Palestinians
hasn't
who you
wanted
think
to-
are all Hamas members. But you know what? It's not.
It's like they just think you're supposed to just murder everything they see and then sort it out after. That's not how you're supposed to conduct war in the 21st century. You're supposed to make sure you're killing the bad guys and not just blowing up every human in fucking sight. She thinks that's the way it's supposed to be done. You're going to prevent us from killing everything we see.
not your job to worry about the safety of international journalists. They've all been to many, many war zones.
That's
whether it's
extremely
Clarissa Ward at
hypocritical.
CNN,
Yes.
Jeremy
To say
Bowen
that
at
and to
BBC.
accuse Israel
I know a lot of these
killing
people
journalists in the
myself.
same breath.
You let the journalists do their job, and you do yours.
Yeah, by the way,
and the
Pierce,
IDF can
Pierce,
do theirs.
They don't seem to have this concern about being blamed for slaughtering the children of Gaza. You know, like
they don't admit
that's not
they're
enough to
killing
get them
any.
to stop that. Right, right.
Great point.
Every time you hear it's either, oh, this is propaganda, this is Hamas propaganda, those kids weren't intentionally killed, all this stuff. But look, like we said at the beginning, this is just, it doesn't meet the basic smell test, the basic human test. If you're telling me, as you said, Natasha, that Hamas has locked up all of the aid that's gotten in there, so who are you targeting when you don't let further aid in? It's the civilian population who's not getting it. Now, you could sit here and say Israel isn't targeting them, meaning I blow up a building that I know has little children in it, but I'm claiming I'm targeting the bad guy. But you know that in effect, your action is going to, in effect, destroy the civilian population. I'm sorry, this is a distinction without a difference. And I don't care about your appeal to international law. Look, I'm Lysander Spooner on this issue of international law. I think either international law allows what Israel is doing to Gaza, or it's been powerless to stop it. So either way, it has not been effective enough. By the way, it does seem like it's the latter, not the former, seeing as how there is, criminal warrants out for Netanyahu for committing war crimes. But regardless of that, the bottom line here is that Israel is doing this to the civilian population of Gaza, and
Notice how Trump will go into Venezuela to get a wanted criminal, but he won't go into Israel and get one. It's a much smaller country.
Nobody who's being honest doesn't believe that the only reason Israel won't let journalists in there is because they don't want the world to see what they're doing to these people. Period. That's the reason, and everybody, including you, knows it. The problem here is that you're not allowed to tell the truth. You're Israel's lawyer, and you got to defend them no matter what. Natasha, does Israel have nuclear weapons?
Sorry, I'm
Here we
an
go.
independent
Does Israel have
member
nuclear
of the
weapons?
English bar.
Yes or
That's
no?
a good
I'm not
question.
instructed.
Yes or no?
I'm
Yes
not
or no, Natasha?
instructed.
Do they have
Does
nuclear
Israel have
weapons?
nuclear weapons, Natasha?
Why do you think I would know any better than you, Piers?
What's the name of your...
Everyone knows they do. Everyone knows they do. They know who they stole them from. Everyone knows the history except the attorney for the fucking criminals.
What's the name of your
No one
name
said
of your
you do.
company?
You do
Isn't it-
know you
What's
the
are
name of your
not telling the
organization?
truth, and so you won't
She knows where the guy who stole them from America lives. I bet she's got his address.
say it.
in Israel.
But
Well,
by
hang
the
on,
way,
hang on,
this
hang
right
on.
here, Pierce, well,
Yeah.
let me just say, it's disqualifying to this conversation. You're playing a different game than me and Pierce are. We are having a conversation about what's actually going on. You're a lawyer who's not allowed to incriminate your client, which is Israel, because
Let
you
me
know
be
the answer the same way
perfectly
Pierce knows
clear.
it, the same way I know it. Do they have nukes?
Let me be perfectly clear. I am not in the employ of anyone associated
What's the
with
name of your
Israel.
organisation?
UK Lawyers for Israel began as a voluntary association of lawyers looking for the
I'm not defending Israel. What's the name of your organization? The UK Defense of Israel?
proper application of law to Israel, Israelis, and combating anti-Semitism. It
Do
is
they
truly
have nuclear
remarkable. We are
weapons,
having
though?
a different conversation. This is a circus, and I am actually seeking to
Can I
address
ask-
And you're the clown.
Pierce?
practical questions, and including the disgusting situation that we are now left with, where the international community has said that Palestinian civilians must uniquely be kept in a war zone, may not be permitted to leave. That is what I am hearing being advocated for consistently, so that they can be continued to be used not just as human shields by Hamas, but as human sacrifices, dragging this conflict out. The
She shouldn't have said that word. You don't want to bring up sacrifices when we're talking about Israel.
tragedy of this misinformation and this propaganda is not just that Jews are being gunned down and burned in the street. It is also that Palestinian civilians are continuing to suffer is as a result of this war, but also of Hamas suppression, repression, torture, and the stealing of aid, which has been well documented.
Yes, Hamas is really terrible. But those people were alive until Israel blew them up. Is that your argument? It's better to be dead than to be like subjugated by Hamas, however they're doing it?
The fact
argument.
that people like the two of you will continue to put out this false information, to perpetuate this conflict, to perpetuate
You're the only one
Palestinian
putting out
suffering
false information
is
here.
truly disgusting. What have I said that's false?
I didn't think...
No, she doesn't. She just doesn't answer the question or pretends like she doesn't know instead of lying. She knows they have nuclear weapons. She just pretends. That's what they do. You can't trust a Zionist.
Anyone could be more disingenuous than the UK ambassador. I got to say, Natasha, you've got right up there. You've crossed that little bar,
If you
haven't
can
you?
indicate one aspect of what I have said that is incorrect, we will have this conversation. But so far, you are throwing out appallingly misconceived allegations.
I don't know how we prove it, but I'm definitely know you do know they have nukes. If you're an attorney representing them, I have a feeling you know that they have nuclear capabilities.
Which are baseless.
Do you know what?
Pierce,
Israel.
Notice she couldn't answer the
I
question.
had Jonathan
about whether Israel
Conricus
has
on. He was a
nukes.
former IDF guy, obviously.
I'm a dickhead in New Orleans. How do I know they have nuclear weapons? You're their attorney and you don't fucking know.
And even he was able to admit a lot of what Israel is now doing is wrong. And it just shouldn't be happening the way that it's happening. When you blindly don't, I mean, I think that Hamas are blindly, ideologically to one side of this. They're a bunch of genocidal maniacs. I think people like Smodrich are genocidal maniacs. And I think anyone on the pro-Israeli side, particularly a lawyer, who can listen to what Smodrich said last week and not understand that he is actually promoting war crimes out of his very mouth.
We haven't discussed Smotrich, and I'm not particularly interested in what he has to say because it's.
Well, he's the
clearly
finance
not-
minister of the Israeli government.
But-
He's one of the three most powerful people in the country.
He clearly doesn't have an input to the war cabinet's policy
Oh,
or
what a
how this
load of
military
utter
or how this
nonsense.
campaign has been run.
Who gives the defense department their money for their budget? Wouldn't it be the finance minister?
Even you don't believe that as you say it.
Well, I wouldn't be saying it if I didn't believe it.
You don't
but I
think that
believe it.
Smodrich has much influence over the Israeli government?
Not on the
He's done
conduct.
anything
the
about
level
the
of
Israeli
saying-
government.
Not on the conduct of this
it's like
war,
saying
Piers, on the basis.
Goebbels didn't
No,
have
I'm
any
sorry, I
control
didn't-
over policy.
didn't
Therefore,
interrupt
it
Mr.
doesn't
Smith.
matter what he said.
I didn't interrupt Mr. Smith. The fact of the matter is that the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Everything that the Israeli army, the Air Force, and the Military Advocate General Corps, which is actually unique in the manner in which it approves strikes and the military tactics that the IDF launched. In fact, when I was on the ground in Gaza, including with a very senior military official from the UK, Sir John McCall, all of the group remarked that the procedures that Israel had put in place were unprecedented, that it wasn't just adhering to international humanitarian law, the law of armed conflict, but in every respect was going far above the requirements, including in taking precautions to prevent civilian
How have they
casualties.
been so careful? Have they managed to destroy 70% of Gaza?
He's boring.
And killed, I think it's 50 to 60,000 people.
Those again are Hamas figures, which
What's
are
the figure, then?
not accurate.
What's the figure?
Well, you heard, I think, from the ambassador,
How many
30,000.
people have you killed?
30,000. There you go with you again. I think there's been some misbriefing in this.
Well, you seem to be
context of this
speaking on
interview.
behalf of the government.
No,
So
I'm speaking on behalf of the facts and the proper application of law, which I appreciate neither of you seem to be particularly interested in. But I will maintain my interest, in particular, the fact that these casualty figures by Hamas do not take account of how these people have said to have died. We know Hamas are shooting their own civilians. That false report of Palestinian civilians at aid centres being targeted by Israel, that was in fact Hamas shooting them.
You don't
We
know
have-
that.
We have the drone
you don't
footage.
know that.
And we have
You actually don't
consistent-
know
Can we see it? Let's see it. Let's see the drone footage and see who shot him. If you got it, let's see it.
who killed them.
We have consistent accounts.
The investigation is still going on, but of
Yeah.
course, it's an Israeli
More evidence they keep bringing up that they won't show anyone.
investigation,
Right.
which will doubtless exonerate the Israeli forces.
We also know that Palestinian civilians are killed by indiscriminate missiles. Palestinian Islamic Jihad and Hamas rockets, when they fall short in the Gaza Strip, they don't fall with a proportionality analysis. They don't fall precisely in the way that Israeli strikes are conducted with warnings
If you're
before.
doing everything so magnificently by the book, why is it that so many allies of Israel are now queuing up, and former prime ministers of Israel are queuing up to condemn it? Are they all utterly deluded?
No, there are two particular reasons for this. The first is what we have seen with the manufacturing of this disinformation that comes out of Gaza from Hamas, that is promoted by NGOs formerly respected like Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, that is then in turn reported by UN special rapporteurs, that finds its way into Security Council resolutions or General Assembly resolutions, that then in turn makes it up to institutions like the ICC and the ICJ. And then once that circle of disinformation is complete, these matters are often re-reported by the NGOs that started this disinformation cycle in the first place. That's reason number one. Reason number two is because of the mode in which the international media have conducted their reporting of this conflict. We have the Al-Ali hospital as a prime example on the 17th of October 2023. Immediately it was reported that this was an Israeli airstrike. That was false. Peers. Just like the reports of Israel targeting Palestinian civilians trying to get aid were false. I urge you to use a little bit of logic here to assess what on earth Israel's objective could be.
I'm sure it was Hamas doing the airstrike. I'm sure they have planes that they're going to put up in the air to go bomb some other Muslims.
Targeting civilians or hitting hospitals like this willy-nilly, which it does not do without good reason because Hamas has used them as command and control centers, and when it provides warnings to enable civilians to evacuate. Why on earth would Israel be targeting Palestinian civilians when it has been seeking from the get-go to evacuate them, to provide humanitarian corridors, which it...
Why would they be ethnically cleansing this area that they want to move all their people into? Why would they do that if that, that's what's happening, bitch? That's literally what's happening. We're watching it. They were talking about it, putting him in Somalia land now. Like they're trying to ethnically cleanse the land so that they can move Israel people into there. And now it's part of Israel, the Greater Israel Project. She's pretending like she doesn't know that. You can't be their fucking attorney and never have heard of it.
It has defended, even though Hamas has fired onto these civilians as they seek to flee areas where Hamas has embedded its terror infrastructure in these civilian areas, in mosques, schools, hospitals, and every second house when I was in Rafah that we saw. That is the truly...
How many houses did you see?
That is the truly...
How many houses did you see?
Well, many of them were destroyed,
how many
unfortunately.
Did you see? You said every second house. You saw
yes.
10 houses.
No, tens,
so,
plural.
10.
The
Well, how
fact
many?
of the matter
well,
is...
hang on, how many?
But Hamas
you said every
clear.
second house.
Yes.
So how many did you see?
No, every second house.
How many
in
houses
Rafah
did you go into?
Doesn't matter.
It does matter.
Doesn't matter.
You've made a statement. You said every second house. How many did you go into?
The houses were
Give
no
me a
longer
number.
left there to
You
go
know how
into.
many
I said
houses you went into?
Tens.
What? 10, 15, 20?
Piers, you're missing the point here. I'm
No,
afraid.
I know the point.
Point is that Hamas,
You've made a claim.
Hamas
I've simply
makes
asked you to give me a number. Numbers are not your strong point.
No.
I know that.
I beg your pardon?
But I imagine
They don't teach math in lawyer school, apparently.
you remember how many houses you went into.
No, we saw destroyed houses in the Rafah area because Hamas has been using these houses as part of its terror infrastructure.
How do you know?
Because they make clear
You just
their
said you went
tactics.
into them and you...
No, I
you said-
never.
you said-
Again, you're putting words in my mouth. If you would listen, I think things would be a lot clearer.
Right.
Hamas has
So
made
you
it
know what was
clear-
inside houses, even though you didn't go inside them and they were all obliterated.
Well, you know I couldn't go inside them because they were booby-trapped by
You
Hamas.
didn't go
But what I
inside them
did
and they were all
see-
destroyed.
What I did
but you
see-
knew they were all full of Hamas stuff.
What I did see
How?
was drone footage that goes into...
drone footage,
That
okay.
went into these houses that
You
demonstrated...
didn't go into the houses. You didn't see any Hamas stuff in there.
She watched the video presentation put on by the people killing everyone. Isn't that nice?
But you saw drone
Here's-
footage
That
later.
demonstrated
Supplied to you
how
by the
Hamas...
IDF.
Well, look,
All right,
Hamas
Dave-
make it very clear.
You know
If
what, I'm
won't
sorry,
take
it's
my
just
word
all
for it,
flannel, isn't it?
You always take Hamas's word for it. So listen to what they
Yeah,
say.
you wouldn't take your
We
word
are-
for it. It sounds like a bit of old
Yes, right.
bullshit again.
Well, it's
Dave.
like, listen, Pierce, as I've dealt with this argument with Douglas Murray and now here today, this is about as serious as Dennis Rodman claiming that Kim Jong-un showed him a supermarket full of food. I don't know what to say here. And it would be equally ridiculous if I went on some Hamas-sponsored tour and then came back telling you that everything they say is correct. Here's the bottom line. I have a much more clear logical answer. The reason why two former Israeli prime ministers, including Omar, who is a right-winger, who was Sharon's guy. This is not as if this is some left-wing anti-war peacenik or something like that. The reason why two former Israeli prime ministers have come out and said that Israel is committing war crimes in Gaza is because Israel is committing war crimes in Gaza. The reason why Israel will not let journalists into Gaza is because Israel is committing war crimes in Gaza. And the reason why Israel is killing Palestinian civilians in Gaza and the reason why they're building up more settlements in the West Bank is because, as Smotrich has said, as Katz, the defense defense minister has said this week, and as Benjamin Netanyahu has said for years and years and years,
Ben-Gvir too.
their plan is Greater Israel. They want Gaza and the West Bank. They call it Judea and Samaria. They believe that it's rightfully Israel's. Benjamin Netanyahu showed up
because they claim in the Bible it gave it to them 3,000 years ago or some shit. That's how fucking badass crazy they are.
To the United Nations a couple weeks before October 7th with a map where it was all Israel. That's the bottom line. It's why they've been controlling these territories since 1967. See, the truth makes a lot more sense. And by the way, you know that Israel has nuclear weapons, but you won't say it on this program because you're not in the business of telling the truth about this conflict. You're in the business of defending Israel, which is fine. That's what you want to do. But all three of us know they have nuclear weapons. Maybe we should get into the where does international law stand on the US and the UK being partners with a country who's not in the non-proliferation treaty, who has nuclear weapons. Maybe we could have a whole conversation on that next time, Pierce.
I think,
come
you know
on,
what?
we all know
Will you
what the
allow
truth
me
is
to
here.
answer
I've
this?
actually asked Netanyahu myself that very question, and he didn't answer. So
She can admit that they have nuclear weapons because then, oh, your attorney says you have nuclear weapons. Now we can't go and fight wars with you, Israel, because you're not supposed to have those and not be signed onto the NPT.
yeah, I think it'd be a very interesting topic for debate.
They love not signing treaties and then acting like that nothing applies to them. Everything is just rules for everybody else, but never for Israel. They're the only country you can't even see fucking, satellite images of. It's just blurred out if you try and go on it and look at their fucking satellite images. They have rules no other country ever would have. And they just act like that's the way it's supposed to be. And I'm tired of that.
We've got to leave it there. Dave Smith, Natasha Hausdorff, thank you both very much. Ahmed Anoub is a...
All right, next video. This one's gonna be fun. I got a couple of things I gotta set up to show y'all first. So bear with me as I'm setting all this up. But yeah, okay. First, let's see. I watched a video from a guy named, let me change this out. Named Matt, the Matt Van Show. Wait, what? Why is it doing this? Oh, I did it over here. This is why I do it. There we go. I did that back.
Why was Miriam Adelson involved? Why was Miriam Adelson
I'm a noob.
involved?
I would have come out sooner, but I had to call my opponent and concede, and it took a while to find Ed Galrine in Tel Aviv.
Exactly this kind of talk, which is why Ed Galrine is now going to be the representative of Kentucky. Exactly this kind of talk. Republican primary voters heard this message, and they heard it, and they said...
Now, let me pause this. If y'all remember, I reacted to the same video last week. And so I was just watching some other content creators and how they react to it too. And this guy, Matt Van, from the Matt Van Show, he came to a totally crazy, he came to the exact opposite view from me. So I wanted to reach out to him, and I offered to, let me take this down for a second so I can show you. So I reached out to him, and you probably can't read that. I'll read it to you. And I said, hey, I do similar content, and I'd love to debate you on everything you said in this video. I tried to message you on X, but I couldn't find you. If you want to debate, please message me on X at Aries Van Dam or email me at ariesvandam@yahoo.com. Message me so we can negotiate some prompts, right? Pretty friendly. I wasn't trying to be rude. I wasn't calling them names like people do to me. Like if you know me and my channel, I argue with every comment just about. Like all the haters and the fucking trolls, I'll argue with them and then invite them to debate me. And then they always run away. So I do this to like all kind of content creators because I want to have a debate. If you really think this bullshit you're saying, let's talk about it and see. So I went back yesterday and noticed my comment was gone. Oh, let me pull it up so you can see it. Dirt. Remove. All right. And you notice there's no comment there, right? So I messaged him again and like, hey, if you don't want to debate this, I'm just going to do a reaction video to your stupid video. And he took that comment down too. So apparently he just wants an echo chamber where he just gets to say what happened and then not ever discuss it, not ever argue it, not ever like have any scrutiny against the things he's saying. I think that's propaganda. Like that's what I'm against. This channel is against propaganda. That's why I'm doing this. I hate propaganda. And that's what he's trying to be. And he ain't Fox News. And so I looked at his channel a little deeper. So he's got 2,280 subscribers, right? So he's bigger than me. I've got 400 and something. I'm almost up to 500. But I went to, here are the numbers. If he's trying to say I'm too big, he's too big for me and I'm not like worth it. I have 528,000 views and Matt Van Show has 443,000 views. And then I go look at how long he's been doing it. He's been doing it since August of 2023. My first reaction video was 6 months ago. Let me see. I don't have it written down, but it's 6 months ago. You can go look. It's all up on my thing. I don't take them down unless it doesn't do anything. Then I just put it right back up. But my first video that was a reaction video was about 6-7 months ago. So why is this guy afraid to discuss the ideas he keeps blurting out like they're real on his videos? So I'm going to get into it and let y'all see, but I don't understand why he wouldn't debate me if he really believes what he's saying. Otherwise, it's just propaganda. He's just saying whatever he needs to say to get some views.
Anybody listening?
So let me get to the beginning here. It's 2:25. So here's where we start.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the arena of Piers Morgan Uncensored, where yelling and screaming is normal, and we also have discussions, right? Sometimes we get into it and sometimes they just yell back and forth at each other. This video is going to be great, folks. We got Will Chamberlain coming in, who's a lawyer. Love Will Chamberlain, love his views. He brings some logic to the table.
That right there tells you where your headspace is. If you say you like Will Chamberlain, you could see some of the videos I reacted to Will Chamberlain. He's a fucking neocon shithead who will say, yes, there's rules for Israel and other rules for everybody else. He will blatantly say that. So if you like him, you have issues.
We've got Glenn Greenwald absolutely just bashing his face against everything. We've got Clay Travis, got another guy, I don't know this other guy, Buckley something, I forget his name, but
that's Buckley Carlson. Tucker Carlson's brother, the biggest podcaster in the universe.
This is going to be great. We're going to get into Donald Trump, Thomas Massey, that whole fallout, right? Because that's created an entire uproar in this country that people just, they don't know how to handle it. They don't know what's going on, right? Like,
yeah, someone doesn't. It's you.
There's this surface level argument that people are falling for that is just wrong. Absolutely wrong, folks. But we're going to get into all that. We're going to get into a little bit of the Iran war and all that. So, you know, tempers are going to flare. People are going to yell. Shut up is going to be...
Cowards are going to run.
Said, maybe. But y'all going to like this. So y'all smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here. Share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. Click the join button. Sign up and become a member. That's the best way to help this channel expand and grow, y'all. And look, we could deal with some expansion. That is absolutely correct. But you guys check out my regular news videos.
You're not going to get any bigger when you run away from discussions and debates about your ideas. No one wants to follow a coward.
That's what this channel is all about. I do these for fun. Check out the news videos. We go over corporate press news articles, read it all out so we're fully and totally informed, right? And I also point out manipulations.
Like hiding people's comments so no one can see other people who disagree with you, right? That's brave.
I do give my opinion, of course, because commentating, that's you kind of got to, right? I do give a little bit of my opinion on that.
But you never back it up. You run away when someone calls you out on it. You don't want to back anything up. You want an echo chamber. Right? You want to be Fox News Jr.
I also do committee hearings also for fun. They're kind of like these. So, you know, check those out if you're kind of into those committee hearings. They're very informative, at least sometimes. Most of it's theatrics. We can all agree to that, right? Mostly theatrics, but sometimes informative. There you go, folks. So without any further ado, let's get into this.
So what are you reading into the sort of overall picture here about what's going on?
Oh, I've been interviewing Thomas Massey for years prior to October 7th, when he was really not talking much about Israel at all, applying, though, the same exact principles, applying to other issues as he's now applying to Israel, including being one of the leading opponents, for example, of the Biden administration's policy of financing the war in Ukraine on exactly the same grounds. He opposes U.S. financing of the Israeli military and the Israeli wars, which is people in Israel are doing extremely well. Ukraine is not our government's obligations. American citizens are. Our towns are falling apart. People don't go to college. They can't afford health care for their kids, the most basic things that a decent country provides for their citizens. And yet we're spending billions of dollars on countries like Israel, where millions of people have higher standards of living in that country than they do here in the United States. He's been the leading cause or advocate of privacy rights and opposed to domestic spying. So he's always been somebody who's been a leading advocate of many of the principles, including, by the way, free speech that the MAGA movement claimed before Trump got back into power again, that were most important to them. He aligned perfectly with it. The difference, though, is that he became an outspoken opponent of U.S. relationship with Israel after October 7th, when the U.S. started spending not just $4 billion a year on Israel, but 20 and 25 billion, and however you count, far more than that, in the wake of all the wars that Israel was involved with. And because of that, obviously, Trump was a major factor. But the real difference in this race was that three pro-Israeli billionaires, led by Miriam Adelson, who Trump himself said is more loyal to Israel than she is to the United States, spent most of her life as an Israeli, was in the IDF, poured insane amounts of money, record-breaking amounts of money into this tiny little district where all you need is 50,000 votes to win. And if you don't think that $25 million is enough to sway 5,000 voters, which was the difference in the race, from one side to the other, you're just not living in political reality. We saw AIPAC do that last year. In 2024, they broke their own record. This year, they did it to Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman, put $15 million in both of those primary races. That is a massive story that people who Trump himself says have either primary loyalty or at least equal loyalty to a foreign country are overriding what polling shows are people's opposition to Israel, to the war in Iran, and just drowning our politics in enormous amounts of unlimited money in service of this foreign country. And not saying Trump wasn't a major role. Obviously he was. He has a huge grip on especially Republican primary voters. But if you deny that that was at least as big of a factor, then you're just insulting the intelligence of anybody listening.
Well, Will
I'm
Chamberlain.
sure Will's about to do that.
Sorry, Buckley, what was that?
I was going to say, I'm sure Will Chambers is about to do exactly that.
I'm about to ask you.
I love that he called him Will Chambers.
Him to do exactly that.
Travis. Both of them are.
Both of them are. Well, I was going to preface it by saying that just before we came on air with this show, Donald Trump has gone public about a growing sense that people are getting that it's Israel trying to call the shots in Iran, that they forced him into the war in the first place, that they don't want it to end. They think that America should re-engage in the military strikes and so on. And Donald Trump's reacting pretty forcefully. Let's take a listen.
What have you said to Prime Minister Netanyahu about Iran and how long to hold off on strike?
He's fine. He'll do whatever I want him to do. He's a very, very good man. He'll do whatever I want him to do, and he's a great guy. To me, he's a great guy. Don't forget, he was a wartime prime minister, and he's not treated right in Israel, in my opinion. I'm right now at 99% in Israel. I could run for prime minister, so maybe.
Do you want your president to be able to run for president in another country? Do you think that's a good thing? Would you like your president to be more popular in his country than in our own? That's kind of a sign. Like, really, this is almost like a confession right here from Trump. What? Is that a good thing? Watch.
After I do this, I'll go to Israel, run for prime minister. I had a poll this morning. I'm 99%, so that's good. But
and what are you here? Are you 99% here too?
No, he's a wartime prime minister, and I just don't think they treat him well.
Mr. President, what do you do?
I think they have a president over there that treats him very.
Imagine if your president was polling at 99% in Russia or China and doing like 38% here, 20% here. Would that be a good sign, or would that be a sign that your government may be like in bed with some enemies?
So a lot to unpack there, Will, not least the idea of Prime Minister Donald Trump of Israel. Well, we'll watch that development with interest. But this central point around Thomas Massie, which I find really fascinating, is that pretty much everything he stands for, and we'll park the Israel part of this to one side for a moment, but pretty much everything else, as Glenn articulated, would be the kind of stuff that Trump campaigned on when he got re-elected. I mean, it was, I'm not going to meddle in foreign wars, particularly in the Middle East. I'm going to take care of cost of living, America first, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And people have looked at this and gone, well, you've done the complete opposite. And here's Thomas Massie, who's actually continued to stand by the positions that Trump was espousing as a candidate, leaving a lot of people a little bit mystified here about why Massie becomes the bogeyman if it doesn't involve his criticism of Israel. Because what Glenn said is correct. You can not be a conspiracy theorist to recount factually that there were millions and millions of dollars pumped in by, Israeli-friendly billionaires against Masih. And the only reason that could be, it seems to me, is because of his increasingly critical rhetoric about the Israeli government. What do you say?
Well, I think that's just simply mistaken. Remember, Thomas Massie wasn't broke here. He had over $10 million of his own to spend, sourced from libertarians nationwide. So if he wanted...
So a typical amount that would be in a Kentucky primary and regular election, right? A typical normal amount, unlike the $35 million that Israel bumped into his opponent's campaign. Does that make sense? That sounds like they're trying to buy a seat.
To get his message out there, he easily did so. And the problem was that his message was schizophrenic. And it's not Israel, it's the big, beautiful bill. Remember, I mean, you posed this statistic where you said 90% of the time he supported the Republican Party. That's a little bit misleading because the big, beautiful bill was the one bill last year that essentially contained the entirety of the president's agenda. And by voting against that, he voted.
Right. It had $1 trillion in spending, pork in every direction. And you want him to vote for it, being that he's the only real conservative still left in the conservative side of our government. Why would he vote for $1 trillion spending bill just so Trump can do all the sneaky shit he's trying to do? That bill was like way too big. It should have been broken up into 3 different bills or 5 different bills.
Voted against basically everything President Trump ran on. Massive increases in border security funding, funding for the wall, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime.
So we're not conservatives anymore. We're just going to spend like a Democrat and then still pretend like we're conserving.
Massive decreases in some discretionary spending. So it was the key part of his agenda, and he was the only Republican to...
Decreases in domestic spending, right? He wanted all of the spending to go to Israel and go to this war and go to all the bullshit he wants to do, taking over the rest of the world. I'm not a globalist, so yeah, I'm glad Massie voted against it. I wish more people in Congress had nuts.
Vote against it. And so then you look at what was the message? You say pro-Israel donors spent, but what did they say to voters in northern Kentucky? They replayed President Trump's rally where he endorsed Ed Galbraith, called Thomas Massie the worst congressperson in the history of the country, disloyal to him, disloyal to the...
Right. They showed lies, like we're saying. He's not the worst congressman, not even close. There's no one who could make an argument that he was the worst of anything. He's an MIT graduate. He's a very smart man. He's not the worst at anything.
Party. And I don't think the voters of northern Kentucky are stupid. They voted for the president by almost 2-1. They know what they wanted. They wanted a loyal representative, and they weren't getting that in Thomas Massie, and that's why he's not going to be in Congress starting in January.
Have they got the president they thought?
But he'll be in the presidential office starting in 2020. What is it, 8? I can't wait.
Thought they were voting for in 2024.
Absolutely, they certainly think so. I mean, Thomas Massie had the opportunity to make the arguments about how, Trump was betraying his base. He wasn't making those arguments at all. Towards the end, he was making arguments about how me and Donald Trump have a lot of work to do still together, which is ironic because a few months earlier, he was talking about how the Trump administration was the Epstein administration. That's the schizophrenia I'm talking about. He couldn't decide whether he...
Which administration's protecting it now, right? Now that we have a bill to have it released and it's still being protected. Who's doing that?
Needed to be pro-Trump to appeal to the voters in that district who like Donald.
Motherfuckers starting wars to distract from it, and then starting another war to distract from the failed war he started to distract from the Epstein files. A distraction inside a distraction inside a distraction. It's like distraction. I don't know how to say it.
Donald Trump. Or against him because of the supposed betrayals. In reality, it was Thomas Massie hallucinating the president's platform into what he wanted to be, rather than looking at what it actually was.
Okay, Buckley Carlson.
Piers, can I just quickly ask Will a very quick question?
Sure.
Did the record-breaking amount of millions of dollars poured into this district in Kentucky by Miriam Adelson and 2 other Israel-centric billionaires, was that a significant factor in your view in Thomas Massie's defeat after 12 years in Congress?
Of course it was a significant factor, but that money probably would have been there regardless.
Based on what? Based on what? It wasn't in any other one. It's never been in one before. Why would that $35 million just have manifested into that guy's fucking campaign contributions? Because I say so. Propaganda. That's why this guy that I'm talking about, who's doesn't do a lot of talking in his videos, but that's what he likes. He likes propaganda. He likes when people just lie and say shit that don't make any sense, and he just glosses over it like no one said anything that was a lie.
Because President Trump had made Thomas Massie his target number 1. So he would have found donors to spend that money in any event. It's just that the pro-Israel donors were particularly happy to spend that money in this case, obviously, because they don't like Thomas Massie very much.
Why? What does Israel have to do with a small Kentucky congressman? What would they hate him for? Oh, because the Epstein files have a lot of ties to that country. Huh. Oh, and we don't want to spend all our money there? Oh, yeah, we got to get him out. That's foreign involvement. That's what we're bitching about. You're admitting the part you're trying to lie and say it isn't happening.
Okay, let me bring in Buckley on this. What do you make of what do you make of it, Buckley? In particular, do you think this is because of Israel, or do you think it's actually because he took on Trump, as Will just said, over the big beautiful bill, and that was pretty much all of Trump's agenda? And therefore, if you're going to do that, Trump would see that as a massively antagonistic, negative attack on what he wants to do, and so he decided to take him down.
I think Glenn made the case pretty convincingly with the data that he just presented here. I would just say I have a little bit different perspective in that we are so used to lying and obfuscation and weasel words, as we often see from Will Chambers here. But Donald Trump has clearly articulated exactly.
Shut up, Will Chambers.
Exactly the way forward for the new MAGA coalition. He's straightforward and clear as he was in that tape. He didn't show the whole clip, I don't believe, but he's talking now. He's acknowledged his donors are rich Israeli billionaires. He's acknowledged his base is actually in Israel. He's acknowledged he's pro-endless wars. He's acknowledged he's pro-surveillance. He's against the Constitution. He's perfectly happy for Americans to be miserable economically. He's perfectly happy to listen to purveyors of global misery like Miriam Adelson, which is totally consistent with the people in Thomas Massey's district who suffer from joblessness and drug addiction and depression. Now we get more of that. It's kind of nice that Donald Trump made it very clear that there's going to be more disdain, more contempt, more drug addiction, more surveillance, more protection of pedophiles. It's kind of nice to know your enemy. And I think if you talk to people in the base, in the grassroots of the Republican Party, you'll notice that a lot of people are actually leaving.
It's exactly this kind of talk, which is why Ed Galbraith is now going to be the representative from Kentucky. Exactly this kind of talk. Republican primary voters heard this message, and they keep talking over me. They said,
Donald Trump talked over his supporters. The people who put him in office, Will, the people who put him in office voted for a very clear agenda, absolutely articulated over an entire decade. The people who voted for Thomas Massey in 24 are the same people who voted for Trump in 24. And they wanted less government surveillance. They wanted actually justice for pedophiles. They didn't want foreign wars. They didn't want more economic.
If you were right, Massey would have won.
So are you saying they don't want justice for the PDF files? Is that what you're saying, Will? Huh.
But he lost.
They don't want foreign interference in their country or in their district. And it's an absolute shame, but it is refreshing that Donald Trump has articulated that clearly, as he did last week when he said he does not care about Americans. He doesn't think about Americans before he makes decisions that impact their economic lives.
Obviously.
So the other great thing is, the only straightforward thing that Ed Galleran, deep state boob Ed Galleran, who was too afraid to actually debate Massey, too afraid to articulate any of.
That's why this guy, that's why Matt Van likes this guy, because he's afraid to debate too. Look at that. Oh, we're finding a common like string between the two.
His positions beyond actually having a draft. So people in Kentucky now who can't find jobs, young people who can't find jobs, it's great. They can just go into the military and fight Israel's wars for Miriam Adelson, Paul Singer, and all the rest.
Okay, folks, so right off the top, I am going to say that I think it's a bit tragic that Thomas Massey lost that race. Like, I like Thomas Massey. He did do some things that were kind of anti-MAGA a little bit, but Thomas Massey,
they were pro-America. That's why they were anti-MAGA.
Is like, if we had Congress filled up with people like Thomas Massey who are more willing to just turn lobbyists away. Like, he does take PAC money. Like, you can go look this up. He does. He doesn't like APAC. He doesn't like the lobby and things of that.
So he takes American PAC money, but he doesn't take it from foreign governments. Aw, we got to get rid of him.
He advocates against lobbies. He does accept some of their money. He does have to deal with them because it is Congress. I think all of that lobbying should be outlawed completely. I think we eliminate a lot of the corruption if we just two things, that's it. No more corporate or foreign lobby interests at all. None
Agreed.
whatsoever. The only people that can lobby Congress is their constituents, like
Agreed.
individual constituent people. That's it. They can ask them for things that they want. That's it. No money exchanges. You can't, agree to donate to a political PAC. None of that. You can't do any of that. No money exchange at all to anyone, anything like that. Like, you do that,
Sure.
right? And then bar any congressman, representative, or senator from raising funds for anything other than their own campaigns. You eliminate 98% of all the corruption.
See, if he stopped right here, I'd have had no issues. But watch how he goes on.
In the legislative body, you get rid of most of it, and it will effectively force them to do their job. That's it. So it's a bit tragic, and Thomas Massey is of the opinion of basically what I'm saying right now. Like, you should do these things. That's good. Right now, he is a libertarian. Let's get that straight. He's a libertarian. He's not a Republican.
Bullshit. Go look at where he ran. He is a Republican. He ran as a Republican candidate. He has libertarian leaning views. Learn English.
He's not a Republican at all. Like, sure, he's a registered Republican, but let's all admit it, he's a libertarian.
What's Trump? Yeah, he says Republican. Acts like a Democrat. He's a globalist, a feminist, a Zionist. How is he not a Democrat? You're supporting a Democrat and complaining that Thomas Massey is a libertarian. Trump was a Democrat for decades, and nothing has changed except his stance on immigration. And that's only some immigration. If they work in his hotels or from any of his like campaign contributors, oh, we gotta let them stay. So yeah, you're brain dead.
So let's get that out of the way. So, we don't know about who's coming in. We don't know if he's going to be any better or not. Kind of doesn't sound like it. But what this guy is doing and what these people are doing, he is weaponizing empathy. Right, and he's drank the Israel deranged Kool-Aid, and he's gone down that whole rabbit hole. Right, this is something that these people put these ideas out there
because it's deranged. If you notice that Israel has way too much influence on our government, when all of our Congress has gone to fucking Israel and gone on their Hasbara tour and collected some paychecks, yeah, you're invaded basically. They just did it a different way. They didn't have an armies to do it with, so they used money because Rothschilds have a lot of money.
On the surface. And to the average voter, somebody that doesn't really pay attention to politics, might catch a news story every once in a while here and there, they see these things and they hear these people yelling and screaming, and some of these people, they're like, y'all crazy. They see, like, and there's a big part of the electorate.
To be fair, I never said you're crazy. I said you're a pussy.
Like, they understand how popular Donald Trump is. So if Donald Trump endorses a candidate, they're going to vote for that candidate. That's it. That's
what we're fighting against. Brainwashing. Stupid fucking low information voters who are brainwashed. That's what we're supposed to be going against. So tell us how it's a good thing that Massey's gone when you just said all the good things that you even agreed were good. But it's good whenever Trump wants to get rid of them, you do it, right? Because you're a good dog.
It's their only stipulations for voting. Seriously, folks. So that's, I would say, the biggest constituent part that makes up why Thomas Massey lost. Right? They see a lot of the Israel derangement stuff, and they're like, I don't want nothing to do with that, right? And Thomas Massey delved into that a little bit, but a lot of that, like a lot of what Thomas Massey was.
He acts like you have a say in it. You're in it. Like, this is what we have. You can pretend like you don't see it. They still own our Congress, our Senate, and our president. That's still the fucking issue. Keep living in denial and pretending like Israel's our greatest ally, stupid.
Was doing. There's genuine concerns right there, right? Like, AIPAC is a genuine concern. The Epstein class is a genuine concern.
Not for you.
But the conspiracy theory has overridden reality on a lot of...
It's a conspiracy theory. Mossad and the CIA, they didn't work in concert to, blackmail elites and do all that. That's just conspiracy theory, right? That's why you won't debate me on it.
Of this, right? Like, Israel has a GDP of about $650 billion. That's it. $650 billion is...
You're making my point. So how much do we give them? Oh, so we're pretty much financing their existence. They can have UBI and fucking paid health insurance because We pay all their bills. Why are we giving money to a country that has better things than us?
It's their GDP. And people think that they control the United States.
Yes.
That has a GDP of $32 trillion.
Do GDPs determine who's in control? Nope. So why are you bringing it up? Who gives a fuck? Yeah, we're bigger. But when you use your influence to bribe all the fucking politicians, you do have control now. See how that works? We're fighting a war for Israel right now, you doofus.
Now, I know that's not really anything you can go off of, but I'm just showing you the monetary influence that is there, right? AIPAC is an American lobby that it's made up of Jewish Americans and just regular Americans, a lot of Christians, that they like Israel. They
who only lobby to do shit that benefits Israel and no one else.
See that as the Holy Land and they want to protect it, right?
So go there, motherfuckers. Out. Traitors need to leave.
That's just like any other interest, right? But the problem is, the reason people see it and they're like, those people are crazy. It's because a lot of people understand that Qatar has lobby interests.
Good point. We have a big problem with Qatari influence in our government, don't we? Do you have any pictures of our Congress sitting in a Qatari fucking bingo hall? I got a few. You want me to pull one up as my backdrop again? I do it on a lot of videos. I don't think I need to. I think everyone knows which country has more influence than any other country.
Saudi Arabia, India, China, Russia, Europe, all of these places have...
You can add all those up, and they don't spend as much money as AIPAC spends. Add all those countries and the lobby groups that you have, add them all up, and I bet you Israel and AIPAC spend more money than them. So tell me how they're a problem and Israel's not. Stupid.
Lobby interests in this country that dump money into PACs, into these other things to get candidates elected. Your sole focus, your deranged focus on AIPAC.
We're deranged.
Making you look like a lunatic here. While you're not talking about any of these other lobby interests that dump just the same amounts of money into these things, right? People have lost their mind.
We're deranged, and you're running from a debate.
On with Israel. As if Israel runs the world. It doesn't. Like, it's a genuine concern, right? Like, I think, like I said, all of those lobbies should be just washed away. Just completely. Just outlawed.
But it's a good thing that they got rid of the guy trying to do that. Ah. It's almost like you're a conflict, you fucking... It's like, can you not see this? The one guy trying to stop all that, they get rid of him, you go, yay! Even though it's kind of sad. You just sung his praises, and now you're saying it's a good thing that they got rid of him. You're a fucking... I don't want to keep saying it, but you're a retard.
All of it. Not just AIPAC. All of it. Every single bit of it. Right? But once again, it boils down to basically, like, these people.
I think this guy wants us to get rid of all the little smaller ones first and work our way up to Israel. We'll get rid of them last. That's a good plan.
Like, Glenn Greenwald's going to, in this next clip, he's going to start bashing his face into everything.
A blatant lie. He does not. He just starts fucking owning everyone on the panel except Buckley.
About money. Like, money doesn't run the world. I know you might think it does, but it
can buy you a war in Iran, can't it? Oh, wait.
It makes up a lot of it, but it doesn't run the world, and it doesn't run political campaigns either.
What? What? We have evidence it does. It does. He was a beloved congressman that the entire country loves. But if Israel don't like him, they'll just dump a bunch of money and support some NPC to go fucking take his place. How does money not rule the world and the fucking campaign policies?
Right? It's all about, like I said, Donald Trump endorsed somebody.
Assertions.
For the most part, if you've got an overwhelming amount of MAGA there, that's who those people are.
This dude watches Fox News, comes up with a bunch of assertions and just throws them out there and never backs them up and runs away from debates for anyone who's going to point them out. That's the way to get successful. You'll be on Fox News before you know it, buddy.
Going to vote for. That's it, folks. It's not going to be, consistent all the way across the board, of course. But that's what's going to happen, right? Especially in places where you got like ranked choice or where you have like closed primaries, things of that nature, right? Anybody Trump endorses is going to win. That's it. Thomas Massey was going against Trump. Most people...
And this clown doesn't think that's a problem. When your president removes a a fucking sitting congressman who's been there for 12 years because he disagrees with you being subservient to a fucking foreign country. I think that's a bit of a problem. I don't like that. Do you? Tell me how that's good then.
People, just simplistic view. If you're against Trump, you're against MAGA. They don't understand the complexity.
Who was against Trump? I voted for the fucker. I voted for him. And then he changed everything and did everything he said he wasn't going to do. Yeah, you should be against Trump after that. What kind of man are you? A guy fucking looks you in the eyes and lies to you and you say, that's all right, I still love you, sir. You fucking pussy. Would you do that with your woman? That's why she's sneaking out at night.
Piece of what Thomas Massie actually represents. That's a problem, folks. That's a massive problem. Like, if people could see that, you know, the bad thing was Thomas Massie voted against the big, beautiful bill. There are issues. This is another thing with Thomas Massie that some people in the political class don't even see, that, you know, Thomas Massie votes, like, you can have this, like the big, beautiful bill. You can have all this stuff that's very, very good. Like, seriously, folks, like, without the big, beautiful bill.
Like laws that prevent you from talking about Israel, like, you know, improving all the data centers' ability to get into places that people that live there don't want them in. Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. I'm glad you're supporting all this shit. You fucking clown.
ICE would have been held captive by the Democrats. Trump essentially insulated the deportation operation.
If Trump really wanted ICE to get their money, why wouldn't he just do 2 separate bills? Huh? Oh, because he knew he needed it that way so that he could get his fucking war for Israel. Like, that's why he did $1 trillion bill and lumped 6 bills together, because he wanted to make sure he got the shit in that he needed. And if you say you don't vote for this, well, you're not voting for border security. No, you lump border security in with the war in Iran somehow. How are those two connected?
From Democrats being able to do anything. That's why the big, beautiful bill was so important. That right there alone. The only reason they're still...
He's one step away from saying, hey, look at the name. The name is Big, Beautiful Bill. It's got to be great. That's the same argument I've heard other people say. They're just going off the name of the fucking bill. What's beautiful about it? What's beautiful about a fucking a surveillance state where you got to fucking be on camera to leave your house? What's good about it? What's good about a fucking a credit system where you can't fucking buy milk because you fucking littered today? What's good about it?
Still operating. That shutdown is still going on, by the way. It's been like 3 months at this point. Almost, I think. Anyway, so folks, like, money doesn't run these campaigns. Seriously.
Prove it. Prove it. I have proof it does. Thomas Massie has some real good evidence that it does contribute to these campaigns. To act like the fucking money being dumped in by a foreign government doesn't have any influence in a campaign is dog shit. That's a fucking lie, and you can't back it up, because I have an election that shows different.
It kind of does, right? It's an important factor, but it's not the whole thing, right? Because...
just determines who wins and loses.
Thomas Massie himself has proven this time and time and time again, where they come up against him, they dump all this money into these campaigns, and Thomas Massie ends up...
When did that happen before? Tell me, when did that happen before? Did they do this in the last time Thomas Massie ran? Nope. Because the Epstein files weren't that big a deal yet, and there was no war in Iran to be fucking railing against, so there was no reason to. So you're just making shit up. Tell me when it happened before. Oh, you can't. Never did.
Winning. It's just people got tired of Thomas Massie, I guess, because
that's what
going
happened.
Against MAGA.
Everybody just got tired and fed up with the most popular congressman in Congress. They just all hate him. But he's going to win president somehow, so figure that out, doofus.
On certain things that it's like, well, we need to get this over the line. This is very good. He voted against it. You look here to Louisiana, right? Cassidy, Bill Cassidy. He's been in his seat for a pretty good while. The John Thune dumped I don't know how many millions of dollars, right? I'm wanting to say it was 6.5. Cassidy had like $6.5 million more than anybody else, right? Julia Letlow,
which meant nothing. But Thomas Massie had $25 million less, and it did make an influence. So see there, they just got to spend more. You've shown them what the limit is, how much they have to fucking bribe with, and now they know it's 35 million. That's what you got to do to get somebody out who's going to try and fix shit.
Had the second highest at like, I don't know, it was like 1.5 million or 2 million or 2.5 million, something like that. Anyway, Fleming was like 1.5 and Letlow was 2.5, I think. And Letlow wins. As a matter of fact, Cassidy got third place. Because it was Letlow.
So one election where they did a couple $1 million didn't make a difference. And when they do 35 million, it does make a difference. See how that works? Dirt.
And then Fleming and then Cassidy was third. So money, it doesn't run everything, folks.
But enough of it does, apparently, right? Oh, enough money does change things. Whenever everywhere you look is anti-fucking Massey propaganda, yeah, it may have an influence. When you pretend like he's going to ruin the world if you don't get him out of there, it could make some dumb, low-information voters like yourself very brainwashed.
People got tired of the anti-Trump nonsense, the anti-America nonsense, the just sucking up to
anti-America. So let me break that down for you. What this little buffoon just said, it's anti-America to want to see the PDF files who molested children in the Epstein files get justice. That's anti-America. It's anti-America to say, hey, why are you getting all this money from a foreign country and now we're going to fight their enemies for them? Oh, that's anti-American. No, it's anti-Trump, shithead. Anti-Trump does not mean anti-American, except for low-information Fox News drones like this buffoon.
Lobby nonsense in Louisiana, at least. And so
I'm in Louisiana, stupid.
Letlow is going to win. She is going to have that seat. And she didn't put much money into that campaign at all. So that's not everything. When you're introducing a candidate like they did, that's a lot. You got to put some money. You got to get their name recognition out there, right? You got to get that out there and let people know.
And so that's what they did, and they got the Massey's opponent's name out there, and he won. So it did work.
Oh,
good point.
That Trump endorsed this person, and that's all you need, folks. All the Israel money doesn't matter. It's irrelevant.
So if Trump says bad, we don't vote for. If Trump says good, we do vote for. Good boy. Good boy.
Just completely. Let's keep going.
Bringing Clay. Clay, welcome back to Uncensored. First of all, I want to play...
Clay Chambers.
Arsenal.
Good man. I want to play a clip from Massey's concession speech and see what you think of this.
I would have come out sooner, but I had to call my opponent and concede, and it took a while to find Ed Galrein in Tel Aviv.
He was under Netanyahu's desk.
I did get the call through, though. I have called and conceded the race. We've been honorable the whole time, and we're going to stay that way.
So making a joke there, clearly, that his opponent is completely in the thrall and control of Israel. Ben Shapiro thinks this is all complete nonsense, unsurprisingly. Let's take a look at what he said.
Hey, the reality is...
I'm just going to use whatever Ben Shapiro says as evidence that my side's right. Because if he's saying it's good, it's bad.
That people who are pro-Israel do not like Thomas Massey because Thomas Massey has engaged in every conspiracy theory it is possible to engage in and has made...
Yeah, Kentucky's known for being pro-Israel. I was born in Kentucky. I got family up there. No, they don't even know what Israel is. They don't know where you can find it on a map. They have no idea about Israel. All they know is the propaganda in front of them.
Common cause with the most anti-Israel people. That's true. But the reason that Thomas Massey is actually in trouble is because the Trump administration has decided to oppose him on the basis of completely other issues. And so the usual game that is now played right now on the right, in the very Podcastistan right, the game that is played is there will be...
I'm the mayor of Podcastistan, by the way.
A critique that has nothing to do with Israel. And the first thing you do is you claim that it's about Israel in an attempt to gin up the crazier part of the Republican base.
Now, I would say, Clay, that the trouble with Ben Shapiro's position on this, and it may be why his own empire is crumbling like Rome in its last few days, is because he never accepts there is anything that could possibly be nefarious concerning anything to do with the Israeli government. And so I take what he says with a pinch of salt. And it is an undeniable fact that AIPAC and other pro-Israeli lobby groups put in over $9 million in a deliberate bid to unseat Massey. Now, I accept that two things can be true at once. That may be because they wanted to, and it may be totally unconnected with the fact that Trump wanted to get back at Massey for not backing his big, beautiful bill. But I don't think you have to be a massive conspiracy theorist to think
He's been saying he was going to primary him before that big, beautiful bill came out. So it has nothing to do with the big, beautiful bill. Like, Marjorie Taylor Greene voted for the big, beautiful bill, and she was threatened with primary, so she just retired. This is devious. This is shit we can't have in our fucking government and still pretend like we're a free country.
There might be a link here. What are your thoughts?
I'll get into that, Piers. Let me start with this. The people of Kentucky's 4th Congressional District have agency. They can make choices. If Kamala Harris had been running against Thomas Massie and $1 billion had been spent on Kamala Harris in the 4th Congressional District, she would have lost. Every lobbying group in America could have spent money on the wrong candidate in Kentucky's 4th Congressional District, and it wouldn't have mattered, right? So ultimately, this race came down to a decision between two people. And the people of Kentucky's 4th Congressional District, and by the way, all my family is from Kentucky. Before they moved down to Nashville to work in the DuPont factory here, all of my dad's family was from Kentucky. There's a lot of hardworking, tough people in Kentucky
who don't have time to do their own research, so they just turn on Fox News or CNN and get their programming. Right. I agree.
And they went out and they listened to the arguments and they decided by 10 points that they thought Gowrine would represent them better than Massie and the interest that they had. Now, was Donald Trump a big part of that? Yes, because Donald Trump would still win the state of Kentucky by 20 plus points
if only Republicans would vote. Yeah, probably. I'd say so. If we only let Republicans vote, which most people aren't Republicans anymore, because I have to go change my registration back, or I can't vote in primaries because I registered as a libertarian as soon as he started bombing Iran. And looking back, it was a mistake because I didn't get to vote in the primaries in my state. So go change your voter registration today if you want to vote in primaries.
We had a presidential election statewide right now. What this really came down to is Donald Trump is more popular in the Kentucky 4th Congressional District than Thomas Massie is. And whomever Trump decided he was going to endorse, I believe would have won. Just like happened in Indiana.
But not without $35 million. Just be clear about that.
With the state senators, just like we saw happen in Louisiana with the Senate race. Trump is more popular in the South, I live in Nashville, than any elected official anywhere in the South. And so if Trump comes out and says, this is my guy or this is my gal, his supporters are going to go out and vote. I actually think.
Then why did they pour a record-breaking number of money into Kentucky? Why did these billionaires pour a record-breaking
Billionaires are known for wasting money and being like just so generous with everything, right? Especially the ones from that country. They're known for being generous. I got some jokes that would disagree with that, though.
amount of money into Kentucky? Are they just dumb? They don't realize what you realize they wasted it?
Let me just answer your question. Kamala spent $1 billion more in 2024 than President Trump's campaign did. If you talk to them, they believe if they'd had Kamala's money, they would have won in New Jersey and they would have won in Virginia. They won all 7 swing states. They spent money because in order to beat an incumbent, you have to make people aware that there is a challenger there. Everybody in the whole district knew Massie already.
That's a presidential election. That's quite a bit different from a primary for a fucking Kentucky congressman. Like, get the fuck out of here. You're talking about the entire country. People knew who Kamala was. They just didn't like her. They ran the most dislikable candidate they could and didn't even let you primary her. So, yeah, people didn't like her. That has nothing to do with money.
There's a reason, if you go to Louisiana, that no Republican incumbent senator had lost before 2012.
And they all take AIPAC money, which is what I'm trying to fix.
Recognition matters. If you have a brand new candidate that nobody knows, you have to introduce them to the district. Massie had been elected multiple times.
You need Miriam Adelson.
I think this was not about Israel. This was not about Israel. This was about the fact that Donald Trump has a very...
Why was Miriam Adelson involved? Why was she so involved? Why was her money so decisive?
There is a very...
Yeah, why did she give so much money if she's not involved in it? She has nothing to do with Kentucky politics. So why is an Israeli billionaire fucking giving millions of dollars to a Kentucky primary campaign?
Very small majority right now in the House. And the Trump team was frustrated because Massie, representing a rock-ribbed Trump district, was not supporting the primary agenda.
I'm going to say that is true. That is a good point. Boomers are too old. That's why whenever their grandchildren and their children start getting to go die, I think sentiment will change. Oh shit! Hit mute. Sorry.
The big beautiful bill, trying to move on from the Epstein story. Has there been any benefit? He promised that there were going to be all these charges brought, and instead of being 100% behind President Trump's agenda, as the voters of Kentucky's 4th congressional district have now shown that they want their representative to be, he decided that he wanted to fight President Trump. He has that right.
Marjorie Taylor Greene voted. Marjorie Taylor Greene voted for the big beautiful bill. Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Hold on. I think it helps Thomas Massey to argue, oh, Israel's against me, instead of pointing out the truth, which is he wasn't
why would he think that?
of President Trump's agenda for the people of Kentucky.
Marjorie Taylor Greene voted for the big. Marjorie Taylor Greene voted for the big beautiful bill. She was on Trump's side with every domestic policy issue that you just said Massey impeded. Her blasphemy was the same as
Trump is more popular in Marjorie. Did you listen to me?
I know you don't want this point. I know you don't want this point out. I know you don't want this point out.
His point does refute everything Clay Travis just said. He was saying, yeah, that way, and now you're hearing, oh, wait, she voted for it, and she still was going to get primaried. And so how does your point have any relevancy here if someone who did vote for the bill that you're trying to say is the only reason he did this? No, he did this because of Epstein and because of the war. Those are the two things that were the big deals, not some big, beautiful bill. He would have gotten it passed no matter what, and he did. I don't think he's that revengeful that, oh, it was a bill you voted against but went through anyway. I'm gonna primary you and get people to spend millions of dollars to get you out. Nope. It's because Epstein was on the docket, and Massey is the what you call it? I don't even know what you call those guys. The conductor who fucking organized all the fucking shit that's bringing out the Epstein files. He needed him out of there because he doesn't want the rest of those files to come out. And I'm hoping somebody picks the ball up and runs with what Massey started, and they still get those Epstein files. But who knows if anyone in Congress has nuts? Most of them are bought.
But no, because it's bullshit. Everything, this whole narrative is bullshit. This is all about anger at Massey because he voted against the big beautiful bill. He was at least as angry at Marjorie Taylor Greene, even though she voted for the big beautiful bill. Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's not just Israel. It's not just Israel.
We don't.
Then why does every U.S. politician make
Well, actually, hang on. Don't talk over each other. Hang on one sec. Clay, on that last point,
I just love it when people know they're losing the argument here and that they're just so divorced from reality and they've gone down this direction.
That's how he literally saw that. He thinks Glenn Greenwald was losing that when he just refuted the entire reason that Clay Travis tried to claim that Trump was going after Massey. He refuted it right there. Marjorie Taylor Greene did vote for it, and he still was going to primary her. So how does it have to do with that? It's right in front of your face. But this buffoon, because he wants the fucking side of the Zionists to fucking prevail here, he's going to say, yeah, Glenn Greenwald bashing his head on everything. Did you see him bash his head on anything? I didn't. I saw him just deconstruct Clay Travis's argument. We're going to see what he does to Will Chambers in a minute.
Ranged hole so far they can't see the light from the top. They just start bashing their face against everything, like the wall, the table, the floor, the ceiling. Start barfing all over themselves, rolling around in it, just getting all nasty. Like that's exactly.
Did y'all see any of that? I didn't see anything like that. Did you? If you did, let me know in the comments.
So what Green Glimwald is doing right here. He's like just barfing all over himself, making himself look so ridiculous.
Throwing up facts on everybody. Yuck.
My talking through his freaking nose like he doesn't know how to speak.
He's a little gay guy. What's your excuse, fruitcake?
He doesn't know how to speak, it seems like. He's just talking and saying, but Marjorie Taylor Greene, Marjorie Taylor, Marjorie.
That's how he talks. Yeah. Is that your argument? He has a funny voice? Okay. Good point. He didn't barf anything except facts out, though.
Taylor Greene, like, I'm sorry to make fun of it. It just looks silly. It absolutely.
And that's what I'm doing right now. You look silly. You look like a fucking moron.
Looks silly. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene's problem is she just flipped on a dime and went anti-Trump because of Epstein. It's like, look, people.
Oh, that's what we were trying to say. Yes, this was all about Epstein, which is what Glenn Greenwald was trying to say. Oh, so he was bashing his head on the wall and barfing all over the place. But you agree, it was all about Epstein. Thanks for seeing the point and then stop trying to pretend like you don't.
The whole Epstein thing, right? Like I had a guy, a coworker, right, went down this rabbit hole, and I had to discuss this with him the other day, and I had to break down some hard truths.
I'm sure you were a wise, like general, just coaching one of your men on how to get through life. You fucking idiot.
He didn't like it very much, but ultimately he ended up.
Why won't you debate me then? Like I pretend like I'm your coworker at work and come teach me. Teach me. I want to learn. Come teach me, pussy.
He agreed with me on this, that ain't nothing you can do, right? We have all these people that have these loose-knit ties to Epstein, right? We don't have evidence that these people did anything untoward, right? So this means
that we shouldn't look, right? We don't have any proof, so let's just stop asking for the evidence. Then we'll never have to do it.
Many, many guilty people are going to get away with diddling girls. That's a travesty of justice, if you ask me.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
You can't just go...
But let's just not do anything about it and just call it a tragedy and just move on, right? Good argument there. Let's just let the PDF files get away and call it a tragedy and move on and just keep voting for Republicans.
Locking people up without knowing they did something, right? You've got...
But you cannot vote for them, right? You cannot vote for the side that's protecting that, can't you? Can't you do that? That's what I'm doing.
To be able to prove it in a court of law. It's what these people just don't understand. They see these
When you're in the voter's booth, is that a court of law? It doesn't feel like a court of law. It just feels like I'm deciding whether I'm going to vote this way or this way. And if I decide not to vote your way, then we didn't have to go to a court of law, right? That's what we're saying. Get your argument straight.
Steam files, and they think we're going to get all the information so we can lock people up. And then come to find out that if that would have been the case, if the FBI would have been sitting on all this evidence, they would have done this a long time ago, right?
Exactly.
So instead, when we don't get all these prosecutions, they say, oh, well, the FBI and Trump's covering it up. They're
while he's like fighting a congressional fucking act that they had to pass to make him put them out, he still hasn't released them. He's in violation of the act. He's breaking the law right now. And you want to pretend like, hey, yeah, just let him go. Just keep voting for him. Keep voting for the guys he picks. No, just no.
Covering for pedos. Yeah, it's like, are you kidding me here, dude? Like,
So there were no PDF files on Epstein Island? Were there none? He's not covering up for him? Wait. Isn't there a guy on his cabinet that went to fucking that island with his, like the guy he lied to us about it, told us he stopped talking to him because he made him uncomfortable talking about massages. No, he went to the island for the massages and he's still on the fucking cabinet.
Guy, and a lot of people didn't know this, like my guy, Trump is part of the reason that the lid was blown off of Epstein in the first place. Do you guys realize that? People will scoff at this. I mean, you can look this up. Trump helped the local police after Virginia Giuffre got stolen. He saw something going on over there. Maybe he heard some rumors that something untoward was going on with underage girls.
And we know Trump would definitely step in to prevent that from happening, right? We would never let that happen again. He's going to step in and be a superhero and protect us all while he covers up for the ones that got away with it. Yeah, okay, good argument.
And he worked with police and the FBI a little bit. He basically just testified. He didn't do much at all.
When it wasn't affecting his friends, right? Then when he finds out all his friends are on the list, hey, he calls Marjorie Taylor Greene and tells her point blank, releasing these files are going to hurt my friends. So where do we go on that? Is that a good thing now? Is it a good thing still, buffoon?
No. But he helped uncover this. He is not going to then later cover it up. What Trump is doing...
Don't believe your eyes or what Trump's saying or anything like that. Just pretend like he's not going to cover it up in spite of the fact that he's fucking covering it up and not releasing files like he was ordered to do by a law. What the fuck?
Is the reason he was kind of reluctant. They didn't want to release... It's complicated, folks. It's very complicated.
It's complicated. I can't explain it to you. Just trust me. We're going to end it there anyway. He was making me sick. God damn, that dude's a fucking moron. And he's a coward, right? A coward. That's what my issue is. I got to calm down. I hit the wrong button and took it off the screen. So let's just end this here because I got to go take a chill pill and take a nap with my dog. This is just, the utter stupidity to fucking just defend shit like that and act like you're not defending it and think no one can see it. And then when someone calls you out and tries to challenge you to a debate on it, you say, I'll just delete, and act like it didn't happen. Do you want that? Is that this dude has 5 times my subscribers and he ran away from me in the debate because I'm too small, even though I have more views than him. That's where we're at. These fucking liars are just going to run. They're going to talk shit and run, just like Ben Shapiro. That's what this guy, Matt Van Show. If you want to go check it out, go check it out. I invite you to go check out his stupid channel and watch this little pussy regurgitate a bunch of lies and then fucking run when somebody calls him out on them. That's what YouTube rewards, I guess. That's why he has so many subscribers and I don't, right? Because I guess people don't subscribe if you got balls. They like little eunuchs. That's what they want. They want to subscribe to a eunuch who will run from a fight and just say, oh, I'm not going to debate that. Braveheart. Way to go. Let me get some music on. I'm losing it here. I'm crashing out today a little bit, but that just drove me insane that he would delete the comments. Like, I mean, I don't delete comments unless you're doxing somebody or you're fucking like threatening somebody. I've never had to even. Like my comment section, it's usually just making fun of me and I get to argue with them. So I like arguing, but no one will argue with me with their faces out because they're pussies, cowards. They want to talk shit and then ignore you whenever you got a counterpoint. That's where we're at today. So, but I just had to share that with y'all. I will be back here Friday for a Friday show. I might have to record it because it's Anna Kasparian and it's on this network that I think they might copyright me. So I may have to record it and then sneak it through the fucking censors. But I will be back Friday one way or another. It might be a live show. I don't know if I have time to record it. So just tune in Friday. It'll be a good show either way. That Anna Kasparian debate is awesome, though. I've got to get it on. So, woosa. Woosa. Take him out of here, dog. I will see y'all Friday. Peace.
Never let the truth fade away.